Hello everybody, and welcome back to another dream today. Hello guys. Welcome. Hello everybody. I see you all in chat. Good to see you guys. Yeah. We're gonna get started today, but happy Friday, everybody. You made it through another week. Congratulations. Big round of applause. We're going to finish out the rest of this week, last stream of the week, by playing Ballads at Midnight, which, if you weren't here last week when we started it, it is a romance visual novel where you play as a bard who is exiled and sent to a vampire's mansion in the middle of a river, on an island. And so you and the vampire are both trapped there, and assumedly by order of the country, like the government, and he tries to barter for your life, and you tell him no, you can't give him your loot because it means too much to you, and you have to have a means to ply your trade when you leave, kind of thing. And he's like, oh, I didn't realize it was that important to you. And so you kind of are learning a little bit more about each other. We're in that learning phase of about each other right now. So we just had this lovely talk about what was it, constellations and like the sky. It was really sweet. If you want to catch it, you can go to youtube.com/@princessevillanvods and check out the Ballads at Midnight playlist that will be up in a few weeks. I'm gonna get back to putting the videos up on the VODs channel. I've been pretty lax with it ever since my unintended break, but I'm gonna be getting back into it, so look forward to Ballads at Midnight hitting the VODs channel very soon. Otherwise, make sure you guys check out the Discord for the channel. We are going to be doing a live reading of the Call of Cthulhu graphic novel on Monday on the Discord channel. It's going to be a Discord only event, so only if you're on Discord are you going to see it. It's not going to be available anywhere else. So make sure you guys join the Discord by following any of the Linktree links, or going to the About Me section of the Twitch channel, going all the way down to Discord, hit the button and add yourself to the Discord server. But otherwise, yeah, let's get started. Ballads at Midnight. There we go. Wait for the stream to catch up. Enter that. There we go. Ballads at Midnight. We're gonna load right here in Harmonic Conversations. Let's go back in a little bit of the history. Let's go back a little bit. Let's, like, around, like, here. Unlike the self-serving stories Illuvia dictates to its children, Illuvia is the name of the country. So its children is its people. His kingdom believes that humans were not always a fixture in our realm. His kingdom talking about a traveler who had come to see him, word of Illuvia. Illuvia sends people to him, to Lucius, the vampire, and he takes care of them, whether he lets them go or he eats them. So yeah. He believed that once, a very long time ago, the world existed in an endless night, a quiet, pitch-black quilt of eternity, unbroken by castle spires and bonfire smoke. When humans roaming the earth, they would hold their newborns up to see the divine darkness. Stars above them, dotting the skies in this peaceful and lonely world, were believed to befriend these infants and provide protection. The stars were there when we first arrived, and they will persist long after we're gone. That is what he believed. Thus, watching the night sky is when we were close to glimpsing what it is like at the beginning of the world and what it will be at its end. Gods, did your guest ever earn his way with his freedom with this story? I would have given it to him, yes. Cryptic phrasing gives me pause, and Lucius falls quiet. His gaze remains transfixed on the sky. Meanwhile, I'm having trouble tearing my eyes away from him and from the melancholic air he wears like a heavy cloak. I don't know how I could have missed it before, because I think that sadness has always been there. The more time I spend here, the harder it becomes to see him as the monster Illuvia has led me to believe he was. Perhaps that's what makes him dangerous, or perhaps I shiver again, rubbing my arms as the breeze whisks through my hair and clothes. Lucius turns promptly away from the sky, clicking his tongue at me. If you're cold, head inside. It'll be a challenge to play a lute with icicles for fingers. But I suspect you're also aware that I was not created in the same way as others have been. I'm quite alive rather than undead, and I have no desire to coven or compel my allegiance. Is this in the same part in the history? Oh, interesting. It doesn't show, like, exactly what last things were said. That's weird. I was unaware of all that, but from his subtext, I gathered that the blood-curdling screams aren't coming from another vampire. Good to know. Additionally, as I hope you have noticed, I have not lost my mortality to bloodlust. It was your most likable trait during our wayward first meeting. Good. He catches himself as if he didn't mean to agree with me before he shakes it off. Just as humans have notable differences, not all vampires are the same. But the people of Illuvia are keenly familiar with the ferocity of vampire spawn, who routinely raid their homes and eat their children. I do not blame Illuvians for believing the worst of me by proxy, though I do find an occasional amusement in the things they say. Tell me, Evelyn, what tales are the good people spinning about me these days? Or better yet, have you any theories of your own? Theories of my own? I think so. I've heard bits and pieces of vampire lore, but I've never felt the need to speculate. I'd never seen a vampire before I met Lucius. There are all sorts of legends about you, but some are more akin to tall tales. People refer to you as a sort of ominous presence or a natural disaster. As for how you were created, as you say, one of the guardsmen who captured me, he believed you stole from the gods. Did I? I'm impressed with myself. How did I manage such a feat? They say you broke into the church's wine cellar and drank your fill. As punishment, the gods cursed you with a voracious appetite for the blood of your own people. I've said before that I'm not a thief, but overindulging in wine does sound like something I'd do. I've always had a fondness for reds. Any other thoughts? Ooh, we get to make a choice. Hear what happens when a man mates with a bat. You dealt with demons. One is mean, one is happy. We're gonna go with the happy ones, because I feel like the mean ones are just mean. I feel like it's not gonna get us anywhere. And I like this answer anyways. Hear what happens when a man mates with a bat. I beg your pardon. Okay, this wasn't specifically about you. It's just something I overheard in a tavern. But since you do turn into a bat, I thought the idea had some merit. They were talking about how vampires are born after me and, you know, implying my poor late father took common animals to bed. He'll be rolling in his grave tonight. But perhaps you were not far off from the truth. My mother had her bestial moments. Oh my, what an astonishing thing to say about one's own mother. You've tricked me into another guessing game, you know. Are you going to tell me the truth, or will you keep goading me to recite absurd theories? His white fangs gleam when he smiles, reflected against starlight. Why, if I revealed all my secrets now, I fear there would be no riveting banter left to pass the time. We wish to stay the hand of maddening silence for as long as we can, do we not? Fine, we do. Maybe I can ask you about simpler things. I retrieve a small charcoal scrap I found on my first night of exploring, holding it up for him to see. I found this under some curtains. What can you tell me about it? Is that... Lucius moves towards me and halts mid-step. His hand lingers in the air between us as if the scrap is a loaf of bread and he hasn't had a meal in weeks. The intensity of his reaction compels me to stay in turn. After a moment of hesitation, I gently set it into his palm. Lucius practically cradles the scrap, his fingers passing reverently over the smudged charcoal. I thought I was being helpful by tidying up a spot you missed. I was going to tease you about it. You actually recognize it? I do. His demeanor has completely changed, almost to an unrecognizable degree. His stooped shoulders don't resemble the rigid, dry-humored vampire I've come to know. Then again, I hadn't taken the time to know him until tonight. He breathes out with shuddering difficulty, as if his lips have gone dry, but slowly he begins to speak again. I ripped it to shreds one night. I was so angry back then. The night I arrived? No, this was This was a very long time ago. This was a portrait of someone I once knew. I shake my head when he starts to hand the scrap back to me. You don't need to give it back, Lucius. It was yours to begin with. Unless you ripped the drawing because you hate the person depicted? Do you not want it anymore? Lucius avoids my eyes, though he tucks the scrap carefully in his pocket. A pointed question. Humans do prefer black and white thinking, don't they? He just framed me by my mortality again, rather than by my name. It's complicated then? A sore subject? Yes. His snappy tone makes me flinch, but I hold my ground and refuse to let it show. Because how can a hatred persist in a vacuum of eternity? Once anger has finished ransacking what remains of your soul, all that's left is... exhaustion? Lucius narrows his eyes at me. How would you know such a thing? I gave him an innocent little shrug. I'm not ready to change the topic to myself, but I find myself genuinely wanting to know more about him. Lucius regards me for a while longer, tapping his finger against his collarbone before he relents with a sigh. I see no reason to keep this secret from you. The portrait depicts the reigning monarch who exiled me here over 300 years ago, Her Majesty Hildegard Edgehaven. Oh. I had suspected we'd both been punished by members of the royal family, but to have it confirmed... My mind races and I bite my lip. I don't want to upset him any further with a poorly timed question. Carry on asking whatever you like, Evelyn. Within reason, I will indulge your curiosity. My questions burst from me like water from a long-suffering dam. How did you come upon such a portrait? I hear it's illegal to depict the faces of royal family in common artwork. Just having one in your possession, it's an open act of rebellion, isn't it? His lips lift to one side, taking on a smug edge. I'm well aware. What further punishment do you think the current crown can bestow upon me if they find out? Perhaps they will banish me to a different state. Or perhaps they'll stop sending me guests, hoping in vain that I'll dry up like a prune from the lack of blood and attention. I doubt that'll work. To answer your question, I described her face to an artist from memory. So you've seen her. So you knew her from before. What did you do to Queen Hildegard? Did you break into her wine cellar, or were you for her former lover? She exiled you when she caught you in bed with another? Oh my god. Wild accusations. Wild accusations. Disgusting. No. We were never thus involved. Besides, I prefer to take one partner at a time. Juggling two seems taxing at best. But based on your logic, on what you said when you met me, you must have committed a crime so deep, grievously, utterly heinous to have been sent here. Am I wrong? It has been a long time I last felt like I was sitting in a confessional booth. I don't miss the glint of amusement that dances across his otherwise inflappable features. What do you, I did ask you first, as you said, and all this time I've been dying to know what unforgivable crimes you committed. Oh, I made a vampire feel like he's dying. Quite a feat on my part. I sneeze. You really must get indoors. Come, I'll walk with you. You'll not be beset by distant screams while I am by your side. Yes, alright, let's get indoors. Alright, now he's accompanying us. How about a hint then? A hint about what? Are you still thinking about it? You're insatiable. It's one of my most charming personality traits. Come on, let's trade hints about why we're here and what crimes we committed. Will you go first? I will go first. He seems satisfied with that, though he also decides to occupy his hands with the cleaning cloth. I watch him clean every surface he touches like a whirlwind of sanitation. He tends to settle into one of the various lounge chairs during our nightly performances, but without the backdrop of my music, I notice he seldom likes to hold still. Well, I'm waiting on your hint. I haven't come up with a hint yet. I glanced down at my lute and songwriting journal, trying to remember what it was like when I first held them in my hands. I remember how jealous the other girls were when our overseers chose to train me as an entertainer. It was a coveted position, and I was so proud. Overseers? What's that mean? Are you a slave? I remember the crushing disillusionment when I realized they would never allow me to play or speak freely. The strict, inflexible lessons where they rap my knuckles with a cane for the slightest mistake. I remember how I swore that one day I'd do and say whatever the hell I wanted. Damn the consequences. You already know that I have a dog penchant of speaking my mind, Lucius. I grew up in a stifled home where this attitude was deeply discouraged. Once I broke free of them, I didn't want to hold myself back. I was drawn to everything I couldn't do while I was growing up. I wanted to see the world, and I did. There are times I've been restless, relentless, unreasonable, and careless, all in the name of acting freely. It's gotten me into trouble more than once. Being sent here is the latest in a long line of consequences I've brought upon myself. I see. You grew up among people who wanted to break your spirit and punished you when you did not bend. The stifled home you described sounds a lot like an Illuvian one. You'd have much in common with the children here. More than you know. I bite the inside of my cheek, taking a moment to weigh my options. As far as I can tell, he's been honest with me. Should I not be honest with him in return? Lucius, I'm from here. I'm from Illuvia. What? So you do know all the Illuvians' beliefs and customs, yet the way you act out and carry yourself is in spite of them? Huh. It seems we both are rather insolent, you and I, though they should have given you credit for turning out as entertaining as you did. I don't act this way to spite them, not intentionally. I ran away at a young age and haven't returned in years. I suppose I've shed what little Illuvian manners I had. But if you left to see the world, why in heaven did you come back? Don't you now owe me a hint? A hint. He echoes me, folding his arms in front of his chest. He finally ceased cleaning, or rather, ran out of things to clean, and has settled into his usual velvet chaise. Chaise? Yeah, chaise lounge, right? A hint about what I did to end up here. Lucian aims his face at the ceiling as if he could see the stars through it, if he stared hard enough. I don't think I did anything wrong, Evelyn. You don't? After I made myself vulnerable, told him where I'm from, and detailed the shortcomings of my personality? The nerve! What does that even mean? You don't think you did anything wrong? How does that qualify as a hint? That doesn't... I falter as I notice Lucius isn't arguing with me or even looking my way. Will you play me the song you were playing outside, Evelyn? I fear we do not have all the time in the world. I will be forced to return to my coffin before long. Forced? You say it as if you can't sleep in a bed with the curtains drawn, Che. I would if I could. I dearly miss sleeping in a bed. Wait, you actually can't sleep in a bed? Why not? Questions, questions. Despite his griping, Lucius does not leave me in suspense. Vampires are prone to compulsions. Ah, this is also very true. We talked about this last time. They're using some like very distinct vampire lore, talking about how vampires are prone to compulsions where they compulsively have to like count beans that you scatter on their coffin or untie knots that they pass as they're going around, right? Like these things are like supposed to inhibit them from moving and doing things so the sun can come up and fry them, because they're compulsively have to undo the knots or count the beans or whatever it is, right? And I was talking about this with Gob because I thought it was an interesting little bit of vampire hunter lore, because it's not all just stakes in the heart to destroy a vampire, yes, but if you can't destroy a vampire, because very few people can do that, then the best you can do is delay the vampire until they fry themselves, because their biggest weakness is the sun. So I wonder how, if they're gonna play into all of these old like lore bits about vampires, I wonder how they're going to like go along with like the sun and things like that, because he's already talking about how we can't not sleep in a coffin, and that's also vampire lore. Like they have to sleep in the earth that theoretically, I think, I can't remember if this was an Anne Rice thing or what, but I think they have to sleep in the earth that their bodies were like buried in. So they have to have like a little jar of dirt of wherever they're from, right? Or they have to have a little bit of it in their coffin. I don't remember how that works. I don't remember if I'm remembering like right lore. There's so much vampire lore. There's been so much vampire lore over the years. So it really is a catch up of what they're going to include and what they're not. So I'm really interested in how they're dictating these vampires. This is going to turn out to be really interesting, I think. We're going to see a lot of play, I think, into the tropes of like mythic vampires, right? Not just the ones that sparkle in the light, right? Or like Anne Rice vampires or anything like that. I think it's going to be interesting. Either way, I'm really excited for vampires. Can you tell? Can you tell? Vampires are prone to compulsions. Universally, they cannot enter one's home without an invitation, and they cannot set foot across running water. I hear some vampires are even compelled to count spilled seed and grain, or to count the holes in a fishing net. I have an additional compulsion, a curse, courtesy of Her Majesty Hildegard Edgehaven. When she exiled me, she also used sorcery to bind me to a coffin. I cannot stray far from it, lest my insides twist upon themselves, strangling me from within. The first night I resisted the coffin's call and slept in a separate chamber, I awoke vomiting blood. Naturally, this is far from ideal. I need to retain all the blood I have. You asked me if I hated the subject in the portrait. While it's true that my anger has faded into exhaustion, I do still find her abominable. She knew how I despised tight spaces. Oh god, it's Lucius, that's terrible. Terrible enough for us to move on to your nightly performance? Yes, of course, forgive me. I clear my throat, brushing my fingers over my neck. What are you doing now? Is that where you'd like me to bite you? I yank my hand away from my neck as if I touched a hot pan. Lucius! I jest. If I bit you there, you would die from blood loss. Though I would bite you if you asked it of me. Are you so certain that you're not interested in eternal life? You keep talking like a man who no longer wants to hear a song. Lucius raises his hand in surrender, though I catch sight of his shoulders still quaking with amusement. Yeah, play him a song! Chapter 5, Rhythm and Rain. We're further along into this than I thought we were. The heavens are generous with rain this year. Within a fortnight of my stay, black clouds had begun blotting out the moon. A few days later, we were up neck deep in Illuvia's rainfall season. At first, I was nervous that the moat would overflow and flood the estate, but the weather was wickedly fickle. The rain frequently stopped and began anew like a broken music box. Nonetheless, the ground outside was perpetually muddy. I spent a lot of time indoors. I was reluctant to soil the only shoes I owned, and Lucius gave me hell whenever I left dirty footprints in the halls. Tonight, a thick fog hangs like a curtain outside. The windows shake and rattle, straining against the storm. Because I'm disinclined to set foot in violently dreary weather, I decided this is an optimal opportunity to write some new songs. I was surprised to find a number of brushes, parchment, and writing quills stowed away in a cupboard, and even more surprised to find an inkwell that hadn't dried out. I recall how the vampire told me he housed an artist once and tried to picture whether said artist could have single-handedly smuggled all these materials. He must have been much sneakier than me, or had a lot more pockets. If I were him, I would have prioritized smuggling and some food and weapons instead of art supplies. But I should be grateful to him in any case. I had made myself a bowl of soup, boiled turnip and mushroom, so I could write without being interrupted by hunger. Lucius's disgusting fish can only tide me over for so long. While I had never had much interest in cooking and often survived on trail rations in the past, I do know how to feed myself in a pinch. Although my soup is only palatable due to some dried herbs I scrounged from the nearby empty pantry. There may have been some unforeseen perks to living in a vampire's castle, but gourmet meals are certainly not one of them. Thankfully, I've never had much interest in the finer things. While my soup cools, I start a small fire to keep myself warm. On the whole, my impromptu little workspace is comfortable. I've always wanted a writing nook, and this may be the closest I'll ever get to having one. Fortunately, I dabbed the nib of my quill against the writing desk, glaring at the blank, loose piece of parchment. Call me a perfectionist, but I refuse to transcribe a song into a journal until I'm certain it's amazing. Besides, I found it's more freeing to write when I don't care for the paper I'm using. I sketch out the word for my quill completes the arc of the E. I have everything I need to write, don't I? But now that I'm sitting down to do it, my head feels as foggy as the weather outside. Maybe I'm being too hard on myself. Let's try this again. There once was an old farmer who... The weight of each word hackneyed and rotten like old apples. I feel like I'm choking on them. I flipped the parchment over, feeling miserable with contempt. Stupid blank page. For long, I found myself leafing backwards through my journal. It doesn't contain much of my original work, honestly. To survive as a traveling bard, I've had to memorize and rewrite songs that were already popular, already known. Original work, I quickly learned, was not well received in an unruly tavern. I've been booed, had tomatoes thrown at me, and I've even gotten into brawls because someone wanted to hear a song I didn't know how to play. So I had to learn. I had to adapt. I had to make it work. At times, I've even stolen promising lyrics from my peers and rivals. I hated doing it, but I did it anyway. And all for what? Freedom? Coin? Glory? God, with so much time to think, I can't help wondering if the life I've led has been one worth living. The vampire was right about the maddening silence. It must be well past midnight. Lucius should be here any minute now. I realized then that, while thoughts of his arrival used to fill me with dread, I recently looked forward to seeing him. We've been surprising each other with how easily the conversations came, how willing we were to talk. I often find myself trying to stay awake to finish thought, only to be shooed to bed the moment he catches me yawning. As much as it pains me, I just can't get the hang of night cycles. I've tried, because being in his company is far more preferable to being stuck with my own. This leaves me cherishing the few hours we have together each night. Without even realizing it, I'd flip through every page of my songs. My hand pauses over the inside cover of my journal. I gaze absentmindedly at the strange runic symbol on the first page. Some sort of bejeweled pendant encircled by a knotted half-wreath of thorns, which has somehow resisted fading no matter how often I've touched it over the years. Brushing over the bold red ink, I wonder if I'm imagining the faintly sharp prickle across the pads of my fingers. Below the symbol, written hurried, clumsy scrawl of the words, "Oh, keep safe. Oh." I once felt at ease with such simple words. Looking at them now only tightens the knot at the pit of my gut. Maybe this is a sign that I just need to move on to bigger and better things, that I've been too rooted to the past. I shut the journal. My chair squeals against the floor as I stand up, resting my palms on either side of this plastic book. I could toss it into the fireplace if I wanted to. Here and now, I could break the final chains linking me to my past. Keep safe. Those were her instructions to me. Try as I might, I can't defy them. I gather the journal into my arms, cradling against my chest. For a moment, I can still feel the blossom of warmth from the words. Keep safe. I'm going to go find Lucius. The silence is truly maddening. I gather my things, striding out into the hall. Oh! Only to collide unwittingly into the vampire lurking outside. He catches me by the forearms, taking a step back to keep us balanced, although my journal and supplies tumble to the floor. Lucius? Evelyn. Lucius releases me once he's sure I'm steady, and immediately bends to pick up the mess. No, don't! I seize the journal and hold it away from him. He eyes me with some measure of confusion, but shrugs and picks up the loose parchment instead. I see you found some old supplies. I'm glad they're getting some use, so I really thought the ink would have dried out by now. What have you written so far? There was once an old man in a farm. Snatches the documents from him. I won't have you making fun of my first drafts. What are you doing here? I didn't wish to disturb you. You look like you were trying to focus. In vain, perhaps. There was not much to disturb. But you were trying to be considerate. Thank you. Lucius nods, dismissive but polite. He doesn't like to acknowledge gratitude. For you to rush out of the chamber like a bat from a cave. Why? Rushing to seek inspiration elsewhere? No. It's akin to submit I'd want to talk to him until I forgot my grievances. Isn't it time for our nightly ballad? He watches me through narrowed eyes, but favors me with a small smile. You need not hurry for such a thing. If you wish to write tonight, you may write. Come. What? Wait! Lucius all but pulls me back into the chamber, coaxing me to be seated once again at the writing desk. I scowl at him, drawing my knees to my chest. Lucius, you don't... He heels off the furniture. I scowl at him harder, but lower my legs to flatten my heels on the floor. I wanted to write, but I couldn't think of anything. You also never finished your soup. It's gone cold. He looks pointedly at my bowl. You're a terribly slow eater, aren't you? I may yet expire before you finish it. I'm not a slow eater, I'm a distracted eater. Why do you want my soup? Here. I push it towards him. He gently pushes it back. No thank you. My taste buds aren't quite what they used to be. A mortal's meal may be a mouthful of dust. That explains your cooking. Lucius arches a brow at me. Forgive me, that wasn't called for. Have I done something to annoy you? No, not at all. I chew my lip. I don't think I run all right anymore. I don't want any more of this soup. Ah, I was presumptuous then. I wouldn't go that far. Look, can we just talk for a while? That was what I wanted. He extends his arm, gesturing for me to take the opposite seat to him. I relocate gratefully away from the writing desk, slumping onto the cushioned bench. You have something on your mind? Yes. No. Yes, but I don't want to talk about it. I understand. What would you like to discuss instead? Lucius leans forward with his elbows propped on his knees. With the candid way he's staring at me, I almost feel like I can tell him anything. But I'd rather not talk about myself. Not yet. Wait, what do you eat? I mean, you sustain yourself with blood, but only if you get a guest every couple of years. And even then, sometimes you let them go or don't feed on them at all. That was a question? I can make do with animal blood, fish mostly, as the moat is rich with them. Oh, that explains cooking. That's another thing I've been wondering. If you can't cross the water, how do you get the fish? By using tools, like any civilized mammal. So, a fishing rod? You fish? Sometimes I use a net, sometimes I use a spear with some rope. I have a very strong throwing arm. I bet you do, look at those muscles. I love the way that he has this, like, demonic black, like, arm thing going on, right? Like, we haven't had that explained yet. Against my better judgment, I observe his shoulders and upper arms, searching for any hints of bulging muscle under his sleeves. If Lucius notices me doing it, he keeps it to himself. For that matter, I'm surprised you haven't asked how I intend to ensure your freedom when I myself cannot cross the water. Because I haven't thought about what I'll do when I leave. Thought feels like an anchor in my chest, a heavy reminder of the future. I presume you'd tell me when it was time? Of course. I can also tell you early. I'll simply throw you across the moat like a javelin. You wouldn't! He practically cackles as I recoil from him. I wouldn't. There is another way. I will show you in due time. Oh, then good. We lapse into a hollow silence as my mind wanders back to my troubles, till the vampire starts making a tutting sound at me. He studies my face with intent, and I realize too late that my pleasantly neutral facade has at some point fallen into a frown. You're in low spirits tonight. Is the weather bringing you down? How else can I help? I suppose I could try telling you a joke, but I only know the one. And no, I shouldn't. I will refrain. It is quite filthy. Tell me! That piques my interest. Yeah, tell me this joke. What is the one joke a vampire knows? If you were a vampire and you had to know one joke, what joke would you have it be? Something classic, right? I don't mind dirty jokes. I've spent a lot of time in taverns, you know. I'm almost certain I've heard them all. No, Evelyn, you don't understand. This is not meant for polite company. Lucius, what? You don't need to be polite company all the time, do we? We can be a little impolite. It's not a little impolite. It is unforgivably dirty. Please, Lucius? Very well. Here we go. I'm a little nervous. You can't say I didn't warn you. It's not too late to change your mind. Lucius, you're killing me. Do you want me to beg? I don't think I can go on without hearing it. His laugh is a low rumble in his chest, and he still makes me wait several seconds before he finally delivers his dirty joke. A white horse falls in a waist-deep mud. That's it? That's the dirtiest joke you know? What? Wait a minute. He tricked me! Ah! Gullible! Completely gullible! A white horse falls into waist deep mud. It's a filthy joke. Oh, I get it. So funny. That's a good one. If I were a vampire and I learned one joke, I that's a pretty good one to know. He tricked me. He played me for a fool. Ooh, I should be so furious with him. But indignant laughter is already bubbling up from to my lips. What? How dare you? That's not even funny. You're the worst. My laughter ripples into a snort, and I know it's futile to try to contain it. Lucius smiles at me all the while, incorrigibly satisfied. Gods, I hate this vampire. I had a similar reaction when I first heard the joke. It pleases me to do it some justice. You burst out laughing? I don't remember my exact reaction. It was a long time ago. Well, do you remember who taught you that joke? A former guest, Gillian. Lucius's face softens and my laughter stops like a clogged drain. There's that sadness again. He didn't try to barter with that joke, did he? Oh gods, can you imagine? No, this was before I began bartering with people. A darker time. Were your darker times lifted with a joke about a white horse? Lucius smiles at me wryly. Would you like me to tell you about him? Yeah, tell me. I'm surprising myself when the words spill from my mouth. Not if it troubles you. I mean, if you wish to tell me, I'll listen. Lucius hesitates, tapping on his collarbone until he musters the initiative to speak. When I was first exiled to this state 300 years ago, there truly was no escape. I frequently fought with the desperate men and women who were sent here. They feared me even when I showed them kindness and reason, and made a point to attack me when I least expected it. My spine stiffens. That frightened, desperate outlook sounds grimly similar to my own back when I first arrived. You had no choice but to defend yourself. I did try in other methods in hopes of coexisting, of earning their trust, but yes, they tended to turn on me regardless. It often resulted in a fight to the death, their death at my hands. I could never resist untying them. I felt a certain kinship for them, I suppose, before it was inevitably dashed. It was never difficult to overpower them. They were mere humans, and I was an immortal being. I was something more powerful with age. I was becoming more powerful with age. Until one day, when I was careless, I had subdued an intruder and left her at the brink of death. Unbeknownst to me, conditions were ripe for her to turn. As the vampire spawn, she was vicious. Her anger overpowered any compulsion I had over her, and she managed to run me through within the same moment I ripped out her throat. Lucius's hand hovers over his chest, where his wound must have been. I was alive, but I was pinned down, paralyzed in place. I was lucky to have fallen in the shadows near my coffin. The vampire spawn was not so lucky. She was well and truly dead, and so she began to decompose, though those claws remained embedded in my chest as a parting gift. I was perpetually awake, but I could not move. I must have lain there for nearly 2 years. Lucius, I'm so sorry. You run into a lot of strife when you become as old as I have. It is not unusual. Yes, but it must have been harrowing. Mostly I was just bored. He's being aloof, but his hand is massaging his chest right above his heart. I assume he doesn't want to show weakness. Gillian was the one who found me there. He gave me a wide berth at first, approach only used a vampire spawn's claws to cut his bonds before jumping away. Comically, really. By then I was practically a husk. I could sense him, but I could not move and could not speak. I would sense him coming and going each night, wandering the estate, much like you've been doing. After some time, he returned to my side and tugged the claws out of my chest. He what? I knew the story must have been leading there, but it was still a bit of a shock. Why on earth would someone release a petrified vampire? He must have been incredibly kind. That's what I was thinking. Maybe he was bored. I suppose he felt some kinship for you. You were both trapped. He certainly was kind. Much too kind, I think. Lucius chuckles quietly. He was the one who drew that portrait, the scrap we found. We burned wood together to make charcoal, and he made all kinds of artwork during his stay. I destroyed much of his work when I lost him, and I regret allowing my emotions get in the way of reason. It just wasn't fair. The way he convinced me to have compassion for others. The way his gentle nature allowed us to gather a motley little group. It wasn't fair the way he... sounds like he betrayed you. This little group of guests I had, they're the ones who figured out a way to escape this blasted estate. I encouraged Gillian to go with them, but he wanted to stay behind. He wanted to stay with me. Which meant, of course, that my very next guest was the cruel one. I woke to the intruder rifling through my things while Gillian bled out in the courtyard. Oh no, Gillian, no! Death is a fate all mortals share. I know it all too well, but it shouldn't have been his time. As I let the story sink in, my next words are quietly careful. Did you kill his murderer? Ruthlessly, but it gave me no satisfaction. Lucius heaved a heavy shuddering breath. Gillian was still gone. I was alone again, and I had no one else to blame. Aw, that's so sad. You were in love with him, weren't you? Do you wish you turned him? Okay, so I've been thinking a lot about how this game has multiple endings. Because, okay, so typically visual novels have multiple endings. For those of you that don't know anything about visual novels. But typically visual novels have multiple endings. And typically the choices that you make throughout the game lead you to a specific ending. So you want to choose choices that fall in line with what you're trying to go for, typically. So I think we can either have him fall in love with us or we can have him turn us. And I don't know which one I kind of want more. I don't know why I can't have both. So I'm gonna go for the love option because I want to romance the fuck out of this vampire. So let's go with that. You were in love with him, weren't you? You become more direct with each passing day, Evelyn. Yes, I loved him. I'm no stranger to the company of men, women, and anyone in between. Neither was he. Though many years have passed, I still remember him fondly. He was a good man. It was some time after that I began bartering with my guests. Immediately offering them freedom made them cagey. They suspected me of foul play, of being up to something. As if they needed to pay a price for their freedom. It helped them feel at ease, in control. It helped them make sense of... He just gestures to himself. I remember the scuffle we had when I first arrived, the way he disarmed me, but otherwise kept his distance. The way he prowled around and said those menacing things. You had to play the evil part people expected of you. It is exhausting, but they fear me more if I do not. And of course, bartering does not come from a place of pure altruism. It gives me something to look forward to, alleviates my apprehension of what the next guest will have in store. When one finds himself acting as the Queen's personal executioner, the odds are high that some of the people she sends will be dangerous. Though occasionally I will receive some kind of offer, a listening ear. I can read that again. Though occasionally I will receive someone kind enough to offer a listening ear. Like Gillian? Like you. I blink at him, bewildered. Gillian was kind, but he was a notoriously bad listener. He would have interrupted me 10 times just then, usually with some absurd tangent about how he thought snails were effervescent. What I mean to say is, thank you for listening to my sad old tale about a lost love. I've never told it to anyone before. Can I ask you one more question? Of course, anything. Something about that last word makes my stomach flutter. Now I must be hungry. I grab my dessert bowl and sip the cold soup. Such a good man. What did he do to get sent here? What was his crime? Lucius outright grins at the question. He edges a little closer to me as if he wishes to rope me into a conspiracy. Supposedly, he painted an unflattering portrait of a nobleman's daughter. Wait, that's it? Yes, and Gillian couldn't help it. He's both an architect and prestigious painter, lauded for his accuracy and attention to detail. To willfully make the girl more beautiful than she was, well, it would have been a lie, and it would have tarnished his good name. The daughter's betrothed took one look at the portrait and canceled their arrangement, leaving the nobleman high and dry with an unwed daughter. I clasp my hand over my mouth. My giggles are punctuated only by the sound of crackling fire. I hadn't anticipated that Lucius would make me laugh more than once, let alone show such vulnerability tonight. And it's so odd. It sounds like the artist was punished for revealing the truth, even if it wasn't entirely his intent to do so. In a way, I suppose I also I swivel my lute into my lap and gaze down at it. It's awash in a glow of firelight. I think I'm ready to tell you what I did, Lucius. He straightens, immediately at attention. Really? Yes. You've kept me waiting for so long. I didn't expect... Hold on, just a moment. I need a drink. Shall I fetch you a glass as well? I think it'll be nice if I keep my throat from going dry. Yes. What do you have on the menu? Wine. You have wine? Where? Since when? I mean, sure, if you don't mind sharing. Lucius shoots me a mysterious, winning grin before he stalks off into the halls. Where does he hide these things? Even every so often, Lucius will present me with some new object or tool from God's nowhere. Just earlier this week, he fetched me a ladder to climb the ledge when I complained about running out of bathing water. Once I climbed up, he made me promise not to attempt the perilous journey of swimming across the moat, and then handed me a bucket and told me to take all the water I needed. I could have sworn I walked through every hall and peeked in every room. Not once have I ever seen any ladders or buckets until he materialized them into existence. Maybe he knows creation spells? Conjuration magic? A vampire who knows magic, that'll be the day. Lucius returns as I muse over the idea, presenting me with the promised glass. Deep red wine sloshes gently within, glistening like black opal in the rim's low light. I would have brought you an entire barrel, but wine is hard to come by around these parts. Better to be frugal with him. You can carry an entire barrel? I told you, I have a strong arm. When I first arrived, I even hauled my coffin up all those flights of stairs. Admittedly, it was exhausting. I was strong enough to do it, but I don't have unlimited stamina. And why were you hauling your coffin upstairs? You wanted to be closer to the sky? You know me so well already. Lucius returns to his seat and crosses his legs, sipping his wine and peering at me over the rim. He looks very at ease indeed. At ease and powerful. I take a slow gulp of my own wine. It's sweeter than I expected, with an undertone of currants and plums. Well, hang on. If you're so strong, how come I was able to escape you? I yanked myself free when I first arrived. That sounds dangerously close to a compliment. Complaint, Evelyn. A complaint? I'm just curious. I don't begrudge you for it, but surely you've realized by now that I'm very disciplined and I have incredible self-control. I released you because I had no desire to restrain you. You were acting like a street cat who didn't want to be held. I did not wish to be scratched. Gee, thanks. Disciplined, incredible self-control. Oh, that's her. Disciplined, incredible self-control. You're full of praise for yourself tonight, Lucius. I'm serious. These attributes of my character ensure that I would never bring harm to you. Not unless you asked it of me. I cough into my wine. What is that supposed to mean? Do you need water? No, I'm fine. Can you hear how fast my heart is beating? I pluck absentmindedly at my lute string, still uncertain if I'm ready to reveal the parts of myself I'd rather forget. But he has been vulnerable with me. It's only fair that I'd be vulnerable with him in turn, and there's no time like the present. I should start with some context. I told you before that I grew up here in Illuvia. I neglected to mention that I was in an orphanage, Nightingale's Garden's home for girls. His lip just barely twitches as if he recognizes the name. I wouldn't be surprised if so. It's a very old, long-established institution. One of his previous guests might have mentioned it, or grew up there like me. Everyone told me it was an enviable place to be, especially the matrons who were always so proud to work there. They told me girls would go far as to murder their own parents in hope of being sent to Nightingale Gardens. I've never heard of it actually happening, but that was the prevailing attitude. Oh my goodness. Because the girls of this orphanage were guaranteed to have a place in high society. We were educated vigorously in matters of court, history, handwriting, sewing, and entertainment. Once every several dozen years, the best and brightest girl was even chosen to become Illuvia's next queen. Oh. Did they have that tradition when you were human, Lucius? Yes. I believe I heard something about it in passing, but it was so long ago. Well, the tradition was in full swing when I was young. The last queen was growing old and infirm, and there were talks of the new queen to be chosen soon. How fortunate for you, yes, you could have been chosen. No, I hated it there. It was stuffy and full of pompous snobs. The matrons had our entire lives planned out for us without once stopping to ask what we wanted to do. And they have the nerve to act like I should keep my mouth shut and be grateful. They The other girls seemed content with their lot, which means they didn't understand how I felt. They kept me at arm's length. I had hated the pressure to succeed, and I got into a lot of trouble even back then. I never could have been in line for the throne. The closest person I had to a friend was an older girl named Ophelia. She was in line for the throne. We all knew she would be chosen too because she was perfect. She was beautiful, graceful, and always seemed to say the right thing. Always. She was always talking about the changes she'd like to make, the way she'd like to improve our kingdom. Just sound lovely. Oh, she does sound lovely, but Evelyn, forgive me for saying this. No one is perfect. Surely your Ophelia is not exempt. He looks a little surprised when I start laughing. You're right. You're absolutely right. Ophelia was a godforsaken rascal. She'd lie through her teeth with a smile and no one was any the wiser. That she had let me see her naughty, conniving side. I felt special, you know? And she did truly want to make things better. She was clever and as sharp as a knife, but she did care about the people around her. At least, that's what I believed. More wine? Yes, please. I drank deeply from the refilled glass before continuing. When Ophelia was chosen and packed her bag, she promised me up and down that she would write every day, every single day. I knew it was forbidden for Illuvia's crown to contact the outside world. We both knew that. Every queen was meant to cut ties with everyone she ever knew before she was chosen. That was the rule. But I believed her, you know? She was so much smarter than me and so crafty. I really thought she'd find a way. I pat the cover of my songwriting journal, which I placed at my side. I always tried to keep it near, even when it pains me. But all she ever sent me was this book with empty pages and a hurried little note on the inside cover. I thought she was encouraging me to write my songs in it and make me happy for a time, but I never heard from her again. Lucius is watching me with his full attention. I can't stop now. So what else could I do? I begged the matrons to grant me a position in the castle. I begged them day and night. All I wanted was to see Ophelia again. Until finally, they snapped at me and told me to stop asking. They told me that they barely managed to secure a position for me as a court entertainer in a faraway land, and that I needed to be grateful. But I wasn't grateful. I argued with them until they took me by the ear and showed me what for. I'll never forget it, how they told me to grow up and stop being childish while they raked me across the back. Apparently my destination had no complaints about women with whipping scars. Evelyn. I ran away soon after that, with just the clothes I wore, and honestly, the very things I have with me now. The loot they gave me, the songwriting journal from Ophelia, and a handful of coins. Lucius spoke slowly, reluctant to interject but able to contain his curiosity. Your crime was running away from this wretched orphanage? Oh no, not at all. I gave them the slip. His shoulders sagged with relief. I wager he feels some kinship with the little girl I once was. I went on to become a traveling vagabond for many years. I performed everywhere I could and I saw the world. It was difficult in its own way. People distrusted any face, and meaningful connections were hard to come by. I was even accused of witchcraft sometimes, for some reason. Something about corrupting their women and stealing their men with siren songs. Some days were freeing and exciting back then, while other days made me feel like a ghost in search of a final resting place. But no matter what I did or where I went, I just couldn't stop thinking about Ophelia. Did you have feelings for this Ophelia of yours? Gods, Lucius, she was practically an adult and I was 6. Which means yes, I was absolutely obsessed with her. Not that she ever seemed to fancy anyone. I'd ask her, you know, if she found some boy or girl attractive. She had this way of wrinkling her nose when she turned down every single one. Like you? Like? I gawk at him. I noticed you wrinkle your nose sometimes when you find something disagreeable. Were you not aware? My face suddenly feels rather hot. Anyway, well, you know how young girls idolize older women. I do. Wait, you do? Yes, I had younger sisters once. We never had the chance to grow close, but I knew they were eager to idolize. That's news to me. I started to ask him about it, but he holds up my hand to stop me. Please, continue on with your tale. I apologize for the interrupt. He grimaces suddenly and my brows knit with concern. It's not the first time I've seen that expression.
Lucius? Are you okay?
Voice acting. Important.
I'm fine. The coffin.
The coffin? What about the coffin? He flinches and takes a deep breath.
I'll be fine for a while longer. It just calls to me sometimes.
If you need to go back early...
Lucius slams his fist on the arm of his seat. His wine jostles slightly in his other hand.
No, I'll not let it squander what little time I have away from it. Forgive me, please. Continue.
Ooh. I tap my fingers against the cover of my journal, feeling a little agitated about wanting to gratify his wishes. He'll get upset if I speed through the story, but I can try to shorten it for him.
Even from distant kingdoms, I would hear terrible gossip about Illuvia's young queen. Apparently, she did nothing to better anyone's life but her own. She kept our cruelest traditions intact, torturing and slaughtering people in droves. Most notably, she kept the tradition of sacrificing people to the crown's pet vampire. No offense.
None taken. Inspiring such unease in its people helps the monarchy stay in power. Fear of punishment, I always heard, is a better motivator than acts of love.
But Ophelia was supposed to be different, and the people were unhappy. There were talks of a revolt. Although I wasn't the most talented bard in the lands, I was starting to get some renown and make strong connections. I can still scarcely believe it, but I managed to get an audience with Queen of Illuvia. I was meant to perform for her.
Lucius' eyes slowly went wide with realization.
You didn't.
I maybe, kind of, definitely spoke my mind in front of the queen and her entire court, but I did it through song.
Oh my god.
You didn't.
Lucius is torn perfectly between horrified and scandalously amused, clasping his hand over his jaw with disbelief.
I did.
Oh my god.
Wanna hear the song?
Yes! His gestures were enthusiastically erratic now. He waves for me to go on and can hardly sit still as he pours himself more wine. As for me, I set my glass down and clear my throat.
Queens, they rule in the light, remembering tales of their kingdoms. Those lands may now be out of sight, but you can still remember your stratagem. Be vain, be cruel, be always right, proud until unproven. Show your cruel self till the end of night, when you'll be slain at day's conclusion.
When Lucius applauds me, it's as gradual as it is resonant. The very furniture around us seems to shudder in response.
Gods.
That is so rough. That's so rough.
That was a more subdued version. Back in court, I was screaming the lyrics at the top of my lungs.
Oh my god.
I only wish I could have seen it for myself. You must have been radiant.
Lucius looks at me with plain, unmistakable admiration. I feel my cheeks are warm again, but I tell myself it's just the wine.
I always knew Illuvia was full of busybody moralists. To think they'd punish you so gravely for such a thing. Simply ungrateful.
Oh, I don't know about gravely. I think I like it here.
And I like having you here.
Aww, so sweet! Our eyes meet with a slow yet abrupt understanding of each other. We're so alike in so many ways, I can hardly believe it. The storm had stopped at some point. It's quiet enough that I can hear his breath, steady and strong even from this distance. And then he grimaces again. I pivot in time to see the sky now clear of black clouds, shifting into the first dusky hints of daybreak. Lucius. Yes, I'm going. No need to rush me. You may have the rest of this wine, if it pleases you. He smiles at me one last time, strained and fleeting, before he turns into mist and disappears into the shadows. Whoosh. And there he goes. See you tomorrow night, Lucius. I know I'm speaking into an empty room. I know it all too well, but I already miss him. Lullabies of the Lost, Chapter 6. Okay, here we go. Lullabies of the Lost. Are we gonna get a lullaby? That'd be great. After staying up all night exchanging bittersweet memories with a vampire, I should have been more than ready to fall into a 700-year slumber. Yet I tossed and turned for hours. My mind is once again filled with locusts, But instead of wheedling questions, this time they whisper ideas. I thought she was gonna, like, say something. I strayed out of my chambers with a groan, raking my hands through my haphazard bedhead. I sit harder than I intend to at the blasted writing desk, and I steadily begin to write. I can write the truth, just as I did when I sang before the queen in her court. I can write about the way this vampire who's been banished to an abandoned estate. People need to know that his humanity is not as lost as they say. When I get out of here, people will know. My quill scrolls to a stop. When I get out of here, how many songs have I played for him now? On the lunar eclipse, I played my 10th song. Earlier tonight must have been my 30th. I still have a ways to go before I'm free, but I made significant headway on my debt to him. No use thinking about it now. I still have time to decide what I want to do. I nod to myself and bow my head as I continue writing. We'd have to play 100 nights, I think. I wake slowly to a light pattering of rain outside, with my cheek pressed against the desk and drool seeping from the side of my lips. Clearly, I wipe my mouth and squint at the loose leaf paper in front of me. I had written only 2 legible verses before I was overtaken with exhaustion. The rest were either bitterly scratched out or scarcely decipherable. I sigh, reaching up to scratch my head, and promptly knock over the inkwell. Shit! I hiss out another string of curses as the ink spreads around the desk and drips off the side. Instinctively, I save the journal and end up sacrificing my meager verses to the fast-spreading black pond. Oh, damn it, damn it! What a waste! What is wrong with me lately? Lucius is gonna be so angry with me. Where is that damn cleaning cloth he always uses? I turn to and fro and realize with growing dismay that he always seems to have it on hand. He must keep it on his person. But maybe he has a spare up in the rafters. Maybe he keeps multiple rags near his person. To be safe, I searched all the cabinets downstairs like a pillaging raccoon. Not a single rag turns up. Knowing that Lucius will be even angrier if I use a blanket or, God forbid, a curtain to clean up the mess. It seems I have no choice but to venture upstairs. My hand traces familiar cracks and bumps of the cobblestone walls, a tactile map I've learned to use due to abysmal lighting of the stairwell. There are no windows to light my path, and the torches must have burned themselves out to smoldering husks an eternity ago. As I climb, I try to plant my feet towards the edge of each step, not only to keep my balance, but to reduce the chance of stepping on a groaning center plank. As a general policy, I found it's best to avoid making undue noise. I'm winded by the time I reach the highest point in the estate, and I brace myself by resting my palms on my knees. Who would have decided it was a good idea to build something with so many stairs? I want to give them a piece of my mind. I spend the next half hour carefully rifling through the attic. There's an annoying number of decorated boxes and trinkets up here, and not nearly enough cleaning rags. I jerk to a stop as I wrench open a jewelry box and see the contents within, realizing with a rub horror how my actions mirror the person who killed Lucius's artist, rifling through his things. I don't intend to steal anything. Lucius won't see me. I should still have another hour or 2 before he wakes up. But I take a slow breath, willing myself to calm down. Even if Lucius acts irritable sometimes, he never hesitates to forgive me. In the same way, I've never hesitated to forgive him. I find myself fixating on a particular point within the open jewelry box. There's an oddly familiar sight there, a hint of a small integrated shape that tugs at my memory. I didn't notice it immediately because it's partly buried beneath strings of pearls and gemstones. I gently shift the valuables aside, allowing the subject of my focus to be laid bare. Oh, it's a ring. It's a chunky, ornate ring. Quite gaudy, really, and not something I'd ever be seen wearing. I pluck the item out of the box, peering at it in the dim darkness. There's no way. At this ring's center is an enormous opal stone, which glitters like a rainbow of fire. Carved directly into the stone is a crest I recognize from the guardsmen's shields and from the banners adorning the queen's courtroom. Without thinking, I put the ring in my mouth and I bite down on the shank. Ugh, ugh. It's dusty, yuck. But I can feel the marks from my teeth imprinted in the metal. The body of the ring is made of pure gold. An actual genuine royal signet ring? Did a member of the crown barter for their freedom with this? Or maybe it was stolen and then traded here by a thief? Because it can't be that. A scream cuts through the attic and threatens to pierce my eardrums. I fumble and nearly drop the ring. I cram the ring back into the jewelry box, slamming it shut before whirling around. The noise definitely came from the coffin. Lucius? As I call out, I'm met with another scream, even more frantic and agonizing than the first. The wooden box is tremoring hard enough that I worry it may topple over. I approach the noise. Every bone in my body shrieks for me to stay away. My turn is concern for him overwhelms every ounce of fear I have. The coffin is carved from blackthorn wood with small divot imperfections chipped off on the edges. It's definitely fallen over before. I wrap my knuckles gently across the wood. No differently than I knock on a bedroom door. Lucius, can you hear me? The coffin lid thuds as if in response. It continues to thud over and over as Lucius pounds his fist against the inside surface. Let me out! His roar is followed by the terrible, desperate noise of nails clawing against the wood. Lucius, it's me! It's Evelyn! Are you hurt? Stop! Stop this at once! I beg you! Release me! I command you to release me this instant! Okay, I'll let you out! The fact that it's not yet sundown makes me uneasy, but Lucius is clearly in distress. Even if he comes out early, he can stay in the shade. I hastily run my hands along the side of the coffin lid and pull. It doesn't budge, as if it's been nailed shut. I try to wrench it open from the opposite side. The coffin continues to hold fast as Lucius screams and thrashes in its confines. The coffin rocks in place. Its corner strikes my torso as I maneuver around it, knocking the air from my lungs. Lucius, stop struggling! Please, why are you doing this to me? What have I done wrong? I'm trying to get you out. There's something wrong with this thing. Is it jammed? I've done everything you asked. Everything I withdraw my hands with sharp recognition of his plight. Lucius isn't talking to me. Even if his screams sound halfway coherent. Lucius, are you awake? He responds with only racked sobbing and a final weak thud. The source of the noise will not hurt you. He was so certain, so quick to assure me of my safety. I sighed through my nostrils, pressing my forehead against the lid. I'm here for you, alright? Even if you can't hear me. I slump fully against the coffin, sliding against it as my hands curl into fists. I'll be here for as long as you need me. I'm here. Aw, that's so sweet. That's so sad, though. What, is he having a nightmare or is he being tortured? Like, I wonder if... Okay, so here's my theory, right? This is a wild theory. I don't know if this is correct. This is the canon that I built in my head. But okay, so they talk about Illuvia, the country, and the government system, the ruling monarch, as like an entity, right? So I wonder if maybe I think maybe it would be very interesting if this was true. I don't know if this is true, so don't flame me in comments. But I think it would be fun if Illuvia was like a immortal entity that exists within the princesses, and when the princesses are chosen from the orphanage and selected to become monarchy, they undergo some kind of process that destroys their personality and who they were as a person and creates this like everlasting immortal that exists within the princesses. And so I wonder if this immortal, like a lich almost, right? And I wonder if this immortal knew our vampire when he was a human and she was a princess, one of the princesses, and they were like friends or maybe even like betrothed, and because she went through the process of becoming the princess, she turned on him and forced him to be a vampire, or maybe he became a vampire in other means, and then she forced him into servitude, or maybe she forced him to become a vampire to put him into servitude. I don't know, but I think definitely the core of what we're getting is that the queen is horrible in both circumstances of his past and her past, and the current queen sitting now, who's still her, it's still our main character's queen. So I think we're definitely getting this vibe that they're both evil, they're both bad people. So I don't know if it's gonna be some kind of like immortal thing, but I think it'd be pretty cool if it was. I'm just saying. That's just me though. Let's see what happens. I'm so excited. Hours pass. I continue speaking to him softly, even when he seems to be addressing someone else, and I hold the coffin steady, straining my arms when it threatens to tumble onto its side. Sweat drips from my brow to my cheek, both from physical exhaustion and the emotional toil. but I don't want to abandon him. He doesn't have anybody else. After an excruciating amount of time, he answers me with a more noticeable coherence. His voice is gravelly and hoarse and discernibly calmer compared to the earlier bellowing screams. Evelyn, are you still there? Yes. The sun has gone down, hasn't it? Yes, at last. Lucius makes a small curt noise of acknowledgement before he clears his throat. With a hollow wooden groan, the lid of the coffin begins to give way. Through the sliver of an opening, I catch the glimpse of a worn velvet bedding and deep gouges in the wood. The lid hangs aloft, barely ajar, until Lucius's long fingers curl around the frame. He pushes it with visible effort, getting it just open enough to squeeze himself through. I scurry backwards to make room as Lucius staggers out, shoulders slumped and steps uneven. The coffin slams shut behind him, a ghastly sight that reminds me too much of a closing mouth. Lucius raises his chin briefly, staring down at me with darting, disbelieving eyes before he sags to the ground. I rush to his side, propping his back against the coffin. I'm sure it's the last thing he wants to touch, but it's the nearest solid surface. Lucius grieves a great dejected sigh as his head lolls back against the lid. It can't be opened until the sun is gone. Curses are obnoxiously specific, airtight, much like the coffin itself. Though there are times I've woken up spilled out of the damn thing because it rolled onto its side. Although he's panting and barely catching his breath, he can't quite keep his absurd commentary to himself. I should thank you for keeping it steady tonight, I presume. You are ridiculous. You go through this every single night? Are you hurt? It feels like just yesterday when you were suggesting I be amputated at the elbow, and then miraculously healed from it with my mighty vampire powers. He chuckles to himself as if recalling a fond memory, and then he hangs his head between his knees. Without thinking twice, I reach out to rub wide, slow circles on his back. An intrusive fraction of my mind notices his body is warmer than I expected. Take your time. It bothers me that you're deflecting with humor, but we're a pair of pots and kettles, I suppose. But the pot could have capitalized on the opportunity to stab the kettle through the coffin. My hand slows, resting on his shoulder blade. Is that a request? No, don't answer that. I wasn't going to. It didn't even occur to me, Lucius. If I wanted to stab you, I would have done it weeks ago. How many times have you been stabbed? Before you can answer me, I turn to look at the coffin with new eyes. An innumerable amount of thin, discolored lines streak across its surface, particularly around the head and the middle of the box. I thought they were wood veins at first, but as I lean closer, I realize they're incisions, slits that have been filled and stained. Some of them have the approximate width of a longsword. Lucius, this is absurdly horrific. This is no way for anyone to live. You don't deserve this. You're too kind, Evelyn. The beat passes as he continues to breathe haggardly, still getting his bearings. Have you gotten any rest? He doesn't look up at me. He might not have the strength to do so. Have you? Touché, but I was technically asleep. Perhaps. Half asleep for some of it, but by and large, I was unconscious. I know. Gradually, his eyes rise to meet mine. How would you know such a thing? His eyes catch when faced with our sudden proximity. I retract my arm from his back, though I will myself to stay by his side. It's just, we don't keep such a civil distance from we normally keep such a civil distance from each other. I've never even sat next to him until tonight. When I perform my songs for him, I'm in the act, and he's my audience. There's an invisible wall that separates us based on our differing status, the entertainer and the entertained. Here and now, I feel as though the wall has begun to crumble. You must think me a terrible housemate for screaming all day. No, not at all. Sorry, I'm tired. I bump my shoulder against his. My fingers fidget and lace together in my lap. An absent-minded little distraction that provides me a small measure of comfort. I remember what it was like. I used to get night terrors when I was a girl. Did you now? At the orphanage? Oh, at the orphanage? Nightingale Gardens. Yes, and it was the worst place to get night terrors. Half the matrons thought I was possessed. The other half thought I was being intentionally maliciously disobedient. I can imagine. It was usually about some recurring nightmares about rats, too, which was the worst. I still get them sometimes. If you don't mind me asking, what do you dream about? Do you remember? I don't know that I'd call it a dream. It's more akin to reliving a memory. The memory of when I was first exiled here. Taps the surface of his coffin with the back of his knuckles. My surroundings in there look the same, no matter the time period. I'm sure it contributes to my confusion. I get that. I also have night terrors like that. I become convinced that this... Lucius looks at me, his eyes full of meaning that I can't quite decipher. This is the dream, and inside the coffin is my reality. Ah, I see, yeah. Is there anything I can do? Can I get you something? Where do you keep your wine? I shift to stand, but Lucius catches my hand before I'm fully upright. Stay. He blinks rapidly and then drops his gaze to the floor as if he's uncertain and surprised at himself, but he does not let go. His hand around mine is gentle and apprehensive. Please, stay seated. Stay with me a while longer. Acquiescing with it without difficulty, I lower myself onto my knees. He seems to breathe more easily when I'm by his side. We stare out at the expansive glass window for a time, content to be quiet together. Of course, Lucius doesn't remain quiet for long. You know, I may feel better if you regale me with more miserable tales from your childhood. I wrinkle my nose at him and whack his shoulder with the back of my hand. He flinches, but I can feel his body quaking with quiet laughter. I'm serious. You mentioned something about rats. Why would they plague your dreams so? I'm afraid of them. They seem to have taken it upon themselves to haunt me. Although this estate has been marvelously rat-free. Yes, they have quite a hard time to cross the moat. Is there a story behind this fear of yours? Did you lose your parents to a drove of rats? I don't remember enough from my infancy to say either way. My earliest memories were in Nightingale Gardens. Although there was this one time. I cut myself off with a snicker, which makes Lucius tilt his head with me. Cut at me with a wry, curious smile, a wordless request for me to finish my thought. Forgive me, it's just the stupidest thing. There was this time when food was going missing from the kitchens. The matrons gathered us up and announced that we had a rat infestation. I was upset by this news, to say the least. I nearly stopped eating, worried I'd find a hair or whisker in my meal or worse. I shudder for comical effect. When Lucius pats my head encouragingly, I shoot him a small, grateful smile. I was just so frightened whenever I saw those beady little eyes or that flick of a tail into a crevice. It haunted every moment of my little life, day and night. I'm fairly sure that's when the nightmares began. I'd wake the whole orphanage just shrieking, and apparently I'd even lash out at the matrons for swinging fists. But I wasn't awake, not really. I remember some of my outbursts, but I couldn't tell what was real. They talked about getting rid of me then. It was even more terrifying and confusing than the nightmares. They discussed my fate right in front of me like I wasn't even there. Lucius doesn't say anything, but he watches me with furrowed brows. Are you sure my miserable childhood tales are making me feel better, Lucius? No, but tell me anyway. What made your night terrors go away? Ah, that's the stupid part of the story. I didn't know Ophelia very well back then. I knew she was the picture-perfect angel of Nightingale Gardens, and I knew she was beautiful, but I was much too shy to speak to her, until one day. She yanked me by the arm and pulled me aside, dragged me all the way into the cellar where we couldn't be seen, couldn't be overheard. Of course, this was very upsetting for me as well. Cellars are notoriously full of rats. She shushed me so fiercely, eyes ablaze, and she shook me so hard I was nearly dizzy. Stop screaming every night, she said. There are no rats in the kitchen. I just sobbed and wailed in her arms. I didn't believe her, and I didn't like getting yelled at. I mean, how could she try to lie to me like that, right? It wasn't unreasonable for me to be afraid. I was just a little girl. God, she was so frustrated with me. She groaned through gritted teeth and insisted there were absolutely no rats. And that's when she told me she made it all up. The rats? The entire infestation. She made it up. She was lying to the entire orphanage about it. Why in the heaven would she do such a thing? To see if she could get away with it. Isn't that awful? She was stealing extra helpings of food for herself and then planting false evidence, rat droppings and fur, to ensure her lie held water. Each day she told the matrons that she was going into town to find a cat, you know, so the cat could eat the rats, but she never actually looked for one. She just went out and had fun in town, and then came home with one of those apologetic doe eyes that made everyone melt for her. Anyway, Ophelia showed me where she kept her spoils, and she said she would share with me as long as I kept my mouth shut. I had to not only stop screaming, but I also had to keep her grubby little secret. Her reputation was spotless after all. Revealing her mischief would damage her chances of becoming queen. I was offended at first. I suffered so many nightmares because of her, but then I was intrigued. I promised I would keep quiet, but from that moment on, I saw her in a new light. I watched her like a hawk and followed her like a shadow, curious of what other lies she's been spreading. but the night terrors didn't stop, not right away. I guess Ophelia became fond of me at some point because she'd sneak into my room to sing softly at me every night. Every single night, even when my nightmares were gone for good. I don't think I can ever forget that lullaby. Lullaby? May I hear it, Evelyn? The knot at the pit of my stomach returns, twisting and aching. No, I can't. In the corner of my eye, I notice a blotch of ink on my lap. I rub at it absentmindedly, smudging it with my thumb. I'm sorry, it's just... No need to explain. I understand. No, you don't understand. When I confronted her in the throne room, God, I wasn't planning to be treasonous, you know? I'd spent months writing a beautiful song for her, but when I saw her... I knew it was forbidden for the crown to see anyone from a previous life. I knew that, so I hid who I was. I used a false name and pretended it was my first time setting foot on Illuvian soil. All I wanted was to see her again. I would have been satisfied if I could see her one last time. If I could see all those terrible rumors were all wrong. My eyes sting. I wipe at them with my wrist. But she... Whoever was sitting on that throne was not my Ophelia. It couldn't have been her. Whoever it was, she had her face, but she didn't have her eyes. Not the eyes I knew. These eyes were hungry, full of disdain, watching me like I was some sort of worm under her heel. And she had this ridiculous harem that was dancing around. And every so often, she'd call one of them to sit in her lap and kiss her in front of everyone. And it didn't make sense. Ophelia didn't like anybody. Just to make sure, I started making small talk. Something to introduce the song. I asked if there were any rats in the royal kitchen. And she just scoffed at me and told me it was a repulsive thing to suggest. She told me to be silent and that she didn't want to hear another word unless it was going to play my song. My lip quivers and my voice begins to break. So I changed the song. I had to convey how I truly felt. Lucius throws his arms around me, holding me tight. I bawl against his chest, losing every last ounce of my composure. Forgive me, Evelyn. I shouldn't have asked you about this. She told me she wanted to make things better for everyone. She told me she'd write. Why didn't she ever write? Forgive me. Hesitant tune. Interesting. We're getting quite a lot of backstory. I think we're gonna finish this chapter, maybe. We'll get through some of this chapter and then we'll finish up for the day. We have about 33 minutes left, looks like. So yeah, we're gonna push through and continue on. We're gonna either get to the end of this chapter or we're gonna stop somewhere within this chapter. I cried myself into a stupor. The next thing I knew, I was sitting on my bed with red swollen eyelids and a throbbing headache. I have vague memories of Lucius carrying me to my room, grunting unhappily when he had to wedge his way in. I really need to stop pushing my bed against the door. And then, as he drew the covers up to my neck, he told me. Did he tell me? I tap my temples in a steady rhythm, chasing down the memory before it eludes me for good. He wanted me to meet him in the courtyard. He said he would wait for me there until I felt well enough to see him. I think he said he had something to tell me. I pressed my palms into my eyes, hoping to reduce the swelling. Even my throat is raw from shedding years of pent-up grief. In grief's place, a new flip-flop of emotions swirl in my chest, and my heart is pounding in an erratic staccato beat. I think I'm going to be sick. Can't believe I told him everything. I even cried in front of him, slobbered all over his clothes. God, it was mortifying. I'd never even cry in front of people, let alone on them. And I was so distracted by my own melodrama that I completely forgot to ask you about that ring. I shake my head, telling myself that it's fine. I have plenty of time to ask him later. Lucius stands at a pillar, like a pillar under the moonlight. His hands are linked behind his back as he observes the heavens. For the first time in a long while, the sky is clear. A yellow crescent moon hangs high among the stars like a lopsided smile. I wince at the soggy squelch of mud with every step I take, but since he was the one who asked me to meet here, I don't think he'll begrudge me for my many footprints. Hey, did I keep you waiting long? Lucius doesn't turn. I have something to show you. Ah, it was show, not tell. Is it another astrological phenomenon? No. His hands tighten perceptibly behind his back. Lucius turns just enough to glance at me, and I shoot him a sheepishly puzzled grin in response. Something about him seeing me renews his resolve. Follow me. Lucius leads me through a side entrance of the estate, through empty stables and servants' quarters. There's a little of note when I ambled through here before. As we cut through the terrace, he stops to grab a light. Oh my god, I can't read. As we cut through a terrace, he stops to grab and light a lantern. He holds it out in front of us, though our path is far from dark. I continue to trail after him down several winding halls until finally we reach a dead end. Is this what you wanted to show me? Lucius, I've already seen every entrance to the estate. What? Lucius pushes his palm against the farthest wall, revealing a door-shaped indent. He leans his weight into it until it gives way, unveiling a dark passageway and a small staircase leading down. Lucius extends a hand to me with a sideways smile. Coming? I take his hand with a touch of hesitation. His skin is cool from the night air. I don't want to climb any more stairs after this. Lucius laughs and pulls me a step closer. You won't have to, I can promise you that. An ambitious promise. This is the moment where you're luring me down to my doom at last, yes? You're finally going to drink my blood and reduce me to a withered corpse? Yes, I prepared a wonderful marinade of citrus, olive oil, and green pepper to baste you in downstairs. That sounds awful! Really? No. He leads me down an old cavernous path that expands in size the deeper we go in. The lantern sways from Lucius' grasp with each step, casting a pallid glow on our surroundings. I see now why he grabbed it. It soon becomes our only source of illumination. Hey, Mobster! We're being led to our doom, supposedly. I don't know what's happening. I think we're being led to an exit. I think we've told the vampire our story enough that he wants to let us go. But I don't want to be let go. I want to stay. I think I'm gonna choose to stay if I can. I'm really hoping I can. I'm hoping it's not gonna force me. I don't know if this is gonna be the ending though, because we're like 7 chapters in or something like that. I don't know if this is the end, because it feels like the end. So we might finish this today. I don't know. I squint when the light catches against the irregular surface. The sides of this path have been piled with broken and non-essential objects. Table legs, ripped cushions, and even some weapons. That's the cabinet I broke on the first night here, isn't it? I was wondering where it went. Are those wine barrels? Yes and yes. I use the underground as a storage room. So this is where you've been hiding all your ladders and buckets and wine. Hiding? Not at all. I just like to keep things tidy. Although, his hand tightens around mine. I do try to withhold the ladder from my guests at the beginning of their stay. The number of people who have tried to brave the moat and drowned in the attempt, I didn't want the same thing to happen to you. Because you would have missed my music? I would have missed you. I wouldn't have been able to help you, Evelyn. His voice is stern, with a harder edge than I expected. Something were to happen to you in the moat. If you were to... Unable to breach the water as I am, I would only have been able to watch. I do not want to see you suffer. The sheer weight behind his words make me hold my tongue, despite the temptation to make a flippant comment about my inability to swim. The ground begins to shift from solid rock to loosely packed dirt that turns and scuffles underfoot. Yes, his name is Lucius, right? I do think it's very fitting. I hope we can escape the friend zone. I'm trying really hard to escape the friend zone. Even if it costs me my immortality. I think being a lover would be even better than having immortality. I don't see why we can't have both, though. Soon the path slopes and the air becomes heavy and damp. I find myself taking deeper breaths, which only magnifies my growing apprehension. Lucius lets go of my hand as we reach a steep precipice. My fingers curl inward, already aching from the absence of his touch. Lucius, where have you taken me? What is this place? Nailed into the precipice with long stakes. My god, I can't read. Nailed into the precipice with wooden stakes, a long rope ladder extends further into the dark abyss. The opening becomes narrower below, but the structure of the passage seems secure and dry. No signs of water droplets leaking through from the moat. I catch Lucius trying to hide a grimace when he kneels to inspect the strength of the rope. Deep beneath the earth as we are, we must be standing in the lowest part of the estate. Being this far from the coffin must be straining for him. When Queen Hildegard banished me, when she sealed me in that blasted coffin, she ordered her soldiers to put me somewhere around here. Originally, this was an enclosed wine cellar attached to the estate, where my exile began and where I first awoke. We removed the wine, of course, before we began the excavation. Excavation? I told you before I had a motley crew working on a way out. There were 5 of them, including Gillian. They dug for months under my supervision. You can see why I had to relocate to sleep upstairs, I'm sure. Where are you going with this? Is it not obvious? He's letting us out. I'm setting you free, Evelyn. This tunnel will lead you to safety under the moat, not on the other side. I must have misheard him. I'm sure of it. That's the only reasonable explanation. He must have said something like, go fetch me some tunnel fish, or I'm trapping you down here forever, so you can never cry on me again, you disgusting creature. You look as though you wish to argue with me. I understand verbal sparring is one of our favorite pastimes, so please, listen to me this once. Every day you spend here is a lost opportunity. This is the time you will never get back. Why should you endure such a fate when you did nothing wrong? You do not deserve to be punished just for speaking your mind. All this over a mere song. You understand, don't you, Evelyn? Your freedom should never have been up for bargain. Your freedom, yours is priceless, Evelyn. Lucius, wait, this is so sudden. I can't wait no longer. I can wait no longer. Oh, that's him. I can wait no longer knowing the injustice you suffered. Please, Evelyn, live your life and be free. You're not an immortal like me. Yes, I am. You should spend more of what little time you have in happiness. I can be an immortal. Just let me be one. But haven't you also suffered injustices, Lucius? Don't you also deserve freedom and happiness? I cast my eyes down the dark passageway, searching. If this leads under the moon, you should be able to travel beneath it, right? He no longer tries to hide that flinching grimace, that cold reminder of his reality, the coffin, secondary measure that guarantees he can never leave. Can't you bring the coffin with you? As long as it's nearby, can't you go anywhere you want? And what, carry it all the way through miles of tunnels and woods, stopping each day to clamber in and howl through my night terrors, terrifying the local wildlife? Then eventually, when we do reach civilization, you'll gain a name as the woman who traveled with the possessed coffin. We'll both be social pariahs then, won't we? No thank you. Besides, I believe I told you how I deeply dislike tight spaces. The tunnels beyond this point disagree with me. I'm better off here in my own private estate. How can you believe this is better? It's the only choice I have, Evelyn. It's the only life I'm allowed to lead. You'd best worry about your own choices, especially now that your debt is cleared. I'll provide you with a week's worth of rations, along with enough coin from my personal coffers to compensate you for your performances. Now, are you ready to go? Ridiculously, my eyes are swimming with tears again, despite my best attempts to blink them back and wipe them away. What will I choose? No, we're gonna stay! No, I won't stay! I won't leave you! We're not leaving you! I won't leave you. You can't make me go, Lucius. I refuse to abandon you. Evelyn, please, you must see reason. I've explained why I cannot go with you. Then I'm staying here. I don't intend to leave your side, Lucius. Not now, not ever. Lucius recoils from me as though he'd suffered a physical blow. How could you say such a thing? You have no future here. Yes, I do have a future. It's not as if I'm going to drop dead on the spot after deciding to stay. See, I still draw breath. That's not what I meant, and you know it. You know as well as I do there's little to do when the food is lacking. On top of that, every 2 years, I risk dying at the hands of a hypothetical brigand? Lucius, it's no different from the world outside. The roads are dangerous, even when I traveled with an entire caravan. I've also been forced to take lives in order to defend myself, by the way, so don't even try to bellyache about being too monstrous to associate with me. I wasn't going to... Let me finish. I hold up my chin and meet his gaze dead on, much like when I performed in front of the Queen's court. You told me before that you would respect my right to choose. I dearly hope that has not changed. I know that our arrangement began from a place of punishment and debt, but as I spent time here and got to know you, I've begun to feel differently about my situation. You're right that my time is precious. I intend to spend it in the place that has brought me the most joy I've ever felt. I don't care about food or amenities, Lucius. I'm eating your disgusting fish every single day if that's what it takes to be with you. To be with me? I clasp my hand over my mouth. Spoiled it all! Cat's out of the bag now. My own words sink in further as Lucius echoes them, and I realize with my frustration that they were true to their core. Nothing is more important than being here for him. Somewhere beneath the surface, I've always known that my budding feelings for Lucius amounted to more than mere loneliness. I convinced myself that I was fine with being a companionless traveling bard, yet now it hurts to be away from him when the sun rises. How much deeper would that knife cut if I leave him now? I've seldom been in love. I'm not confident I'd recognize it even if it slapped me across the face. But this feeling I have when I look at him now... Gods, I hate how honest I have to be now that I'm in close, frequent proximity to someone I actually like. My voice shakes, so I try my best to get my bearings. I've come to care about you a great deal, Lucius. Can't you tell? We live in a cold, wicked world. You know as well as I do that sending me back to it would not guarantee my safety. The whole litter of the cats is all out of the bags. Yeah, right. They're all out. Everyone's everywhere. It's a nightmare. Kittens everywhere. There's bandits and wild animals, shipwrecks and desert heat. I'm grateful that I've survived my fair share of adversity just long enough to meet someone like you. Being here is the closest I've ever felt to having a home. I don't have much of a life to return to outside of this estate. Maybe I want to rot here for the remainder of my brief and miserable existence. I want to discover what else we have in common, and I want to learn more about you. Would you deprive me of that? Conflicting emotions war across his features. I can tell he's tempted to give in, but he's just as strong and compelled to battle this to the bitter end. This is precisely part of the problem. You don't even know who I was before. A member of the royal family? I found your ring, Lucius. I was shocked at first, but you weren't the one who condemned me here. I won't hold you accountable for the cruelty of your successors, so please don't suggest that I hate you because of who you are. I don't. I suspected that you'd found it, but you still don't understand. Then explain it to me. Are you not royalty after all? These tunnels will be the death of me. I feel lightheaded. I need some air. Lucius runs and stalks. Lucius turns and stalks away. I said runs. That's funny because that's exactly what he's doing. He's running away. Leaving me with the lantern. Oh no. Lucius! Go get him, girl. Get your man. There's an odd sense of deja vu as I pursue him through the servants' quarters, my pace far less hurried than his. Although his strides are long, I have no difficulty keeping up. He slows to a stop in the courtyard and once more stands with his back turned to me.
Do you know how difficult it was to make the decision to free you? A selfish, disgusting part of me is pleased that you would choose to stay.
It's not selfish to be pleased, Lucius.
It's not. You can be happy. You're allowed to be happy.
Isn't it?
You're not okay. Lucius, forgive me. Forgive me against all of your immortality, but you are not controlling her. You are not forcing her to go, nor forcing her to stay. So, like, giving her the out is really, like, the least you could do, right, as a person. Letting her go, especially knowing that she's not kept here for like any real purpose. You just told her mind in front of the queen, which I figured from the beginning, right? What else does a bard get stuck in exile for? But you're not controlling her, so like you're allowed to feel happy that she chooses against what you don't want. You don't want her to go, that's fine, that's fair, but you're refusing to accept that. But you can feel happy that she chooses to stay. That's fine as well. You should feel happy that she chooses to stay. That's because that's what you want. You want her to stay, but at the same time, I get it. You want her to go because you want her to have a life outside of you, and you don't feel like you deserve it, and all that blah 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 nonsense. But that's all you, right? Like that's all stuff that you're dealing with, which that's not gonna get fixed by having her stay or go. That's stuff that you have to deal with. So it's actually better for her to stay so that she can help you through that, because going through it alone sucks. Let me tell you. But going through it with somebody else that cares about you is one of the best things that you can do when you're working through trauma, which you clearly have. I don't know what the queen did to you or your relationship to her. It's still yet to be revealed, but clearly you got trauma. Clearly. You would not be having night terrors that bad if you did not have trauma. He whirls on me. Goodness. I totally forgot we're in the middle of a scene.
I told you what happened last time to Jillian. It took me years to recover. If any harm were to befall you, if you were to be taken from me, I don't think I could...
He cuts himself off as a shuddering breath escapes him.
Lucius, I'm making this decision not from a place of foolhardy courage, but because your presence is worth enduring some apprehension. I am scared, you know. It's alright if you're scared too.
That's fair, yeah. You both have a right to be scared because it's a scary situation. You're both like trapped in exile and they're gonna be sending not great people at you. Or, you know, just people who don't deserve to be thrown at you. But it just depends. Every 2 years. So, wild. I close the distance, reaching for him. When he mirrors my movements, however timidly, I seize him and pull him into a fierce hug. Lucius crumbles in my grasp, his fingers digging small crevices into the clothes on my back.
I can't promise I'll live forever, Lucius. No one can promise it. Not even you. But the time I've spent with you has been the happiest times I've ever known.
Aww.
I feel like I can talk to you about anything, even things I'd intended to bury forever. And the memories I've made here, I know to appreciate them only because I've had you by my side. Please don't deprive me of our bond. I want to enjoy it while it lasts, however long that may be. Lucius,
Say it, I love you.
I think I'm falling in love with you.
Aww, beautiful. My heart feels like it stopped. Beautiful.
Sounds absurd. I know we haven't known each other long, but you're a beautiful, radiant woman. Anyone can see it. You must have better options than this. You deserve other options. I just know someone out there will worship the very ground you walk on.
Why not you? Why not you? His confession reverberates in my mind like a tuning fork. I feel dizzy and like I'm soaring all at once, but I pull myself together enough to murmur into his hair.
what if I don't want other options? What if I only want you?
Then I would be powerless to deny you my radiance.
Aww. What's up with my radiance, my sunshine? That was from A Date with Death, which we need to play A Date with Death too. I'm so excited for it to come out. I'm waiting for it. It's on my list.
I would hate for you to regret this decision.
I pull away, not to detach him, but to get a good look at his face. His eyes search mine as he cups his palm over my cheek.
I propose a new barter, vampire.
Ew.
Oh,
I would have your heart in exchange for mine.
Despite himself, Lucius scoffs out a small laugh. Oh my god, I can't read. Can't even talk, can't read. What's happening? Despite himself, Lucius scoffs out a small laugh.
if you have thought this through, if you are truly, wholeheartedly certain...
Their emotions are getting to me. Oh, that's really sweet, Meowster. Honestly, seeing sounds a lot fitting for a vampire to call someone he loves using the one thing he cannot touch. I didn't even think of that. Oh, that's so sweet. Oh, that's so adorable. I can't handle it. Then, to rot we shall go, together. He tucks flyaway strands of hair over my ear. Such a tender gesture from someone I once feared so deeply. Can I kiss you? Yes! Yes! Oh, we gotta kiss him first. We gotta kiss him first. quickly leap onto him, crashing my lips into his and knocking our teeth together. He makes a surprise sound but doesn't protest. Lucius encircles his arms around my waist and leans in, kissing me harder. Mutual laughter bubbles between us, and I kiss him all over his ridiculous face. Evelyn, you... He scoffs out another laugh. Looking as bashful as a schoolboy, he cradles my face in his hands and plants a final chaste kiss on my forehead. I'm the luckiest man in all the lands. I love you, Evelyn. All along I have loved you. This is what I live for. I live for these lines. I do feel like Equius. I need a towel. And then he kisses me again, pulling me close under the midnight sky. The world feels so suddenly weightless. I recede to come up for air, but Lucius pulls me back in, kissing me with the force of a crashing wave. So I breathe him in, along with the crisp, earthy scent of moist soil. The night air normally has a cold bite that sticks to my skin like molasses. When he holds me in his arms, it feels like velvet. Lucius presses his forehead against mine with a breathless chuckle, smiling so hard that I barely recognize him. In all my long years, I've never met anyone like you. And in my comparatively short years, I've never imagined I'd fall for a vampiric clean freak with the driest sense of humor I've never known. Clean freak? Oh fine, you're not wrong. I still love you, you insolent creature. Lucius catches me around the waist and lifts me, spinning us into a triumphant half-arc. Lucius? Don't tell me to contain myself, Evelyn. I won't do it for all the riches of the world. Bristling foxtails skim over my ankles and my feet fall uneven as he sets me down. Before I can regain my balance, Lucius claps his hand in my hand in his own and begins stepping in time to a melody only he can hear. What are you doing? We're dancing as lovers do. I stumble as he guides our bodies into a revolving turn. Whoa! I don't know how to dance, Lucius. I've been tapping my feet along to my own melodies, at most. He maneuvers me under his arm and then pulls me close enough to kiss my knuckles in a fluid motion. Then it's a good thing you'll have all the time in the world to learn. Cicadas buzz all around us like a steady hum of applause. In the distance, a single ox frog begins the chorus of its song. Another joins in, then another, until the mood itself seems to hum with their reverie. The very stars feel like they're sweeping around us in a beguiling dance, embracing us in the wind-blown curtains of night. As Lucius dips me back, I realize these aren't stars at all, when one of them lands on my nose. Fireflies! Oh, I love fireflies! These are lunar flies? There's so many! Lucius, I think these are the bugs that stung me when I first crossed the moat. Oh gods, we need to get inside! We rush into the estate together, holding onto each other and giggling like children. Lucius slowly slows only to pat me down and make sure none of the insects tagged along. Nasty little bastards. The worst sting will itch for days. I forget how aggressively lunarflies breed during the rainy seasons. My cheeks hurt from grinning as he tends to me, diligently checking my hair and under my arms. Lucius? Yes, my radiance? I nearly burst out in laughter at the pet name he's chosen, but I regain enough control to pass it off as clearing my throat. I give him a quick peck on the cheek, redirecting his attention from checking for bugs to look into my eyes. His little lip tilts up into a smirk as he backs me gently against the wall, pinning me into place by propping his elbow next to my head. Uh-oh. Hey, hold on. Hold on. I didn't sign up for this. Hold on. I didn't sign up to be cobbled on. Where's that towel? You're keeping me in suspense, Evelyn. What is it? Oh. You made it quite difficult to speak my mind. I enjoy challenging you. Okay, hold on. Do I have a sensor pulled up for this? Here's my sensor. We're just gonna put a big... There we go. And hold on, can I put a hotkey for this? I should have done this earlier. That's okay. We got that just in case. Grab the black curtain, lads. It's about to go 18 plus. We can brave it. We're brave. It was on Twitch, so it should be fine. I say hesitantly. Right. Okay, look. Before we go any further, I think there are a few more things we should discuss. Lucius dips his head down and begins to kiss my neck. Lucius? Ha 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 ha. No, I do actually agree with you. We should set some expectations. He pulls away only slightly, a meager show of mercy. For example, he traces a line from my neck to my collarbone, sending a needy shiver down my spine. How do you feel about biting? Particularly the kind that would turn you into a creature of the night. Is it the immortality that I wanted? Are you giving it to me too? Yes! Yes! Turn me! Do it! Yes! I want to be a vampire. I want to be a vampire so bad. I don't care. I don't care if I'll never see the sun again. I've had so much sun in my life. I don't need any more of it. I lived in a place that was mostly cloudy for like a year. And then I moved back to a really sunny place, and I miss the clouds so much. I miss the rain. I miss like real plants, not like desert shit. Wild. I'd be so good without the sun, and I'm already a very compulsive person, so I think, yeah, I know, I just need those vitamin C supplements. Yeah, I was listening to somebody talk about living in Ireland, and they were like, yeah, everybody takes vitamin C, vitamin D supplements, and I was like, oh, I guess other people do have to do that when they're not just surrounded by the sun. I feel like I live in the literal sun. Like, it's so hot all the time. I definitely feel like the year that I lived away thickened my blood, is what people say about it. Like, and that moving to warm places thins your blood out. But like, after my blood thickened into like the cold, and then I could stand like being in the snow and stuff, like once my blood thickened, it never really thinned back out, it feels like, if that's the case, because I can't handle the heat for shit. I have to stay inside. Yeah, eat a ton of oranges. That would work. I love oranges. Okay, enough stalling, enough stalling. We can do this. We can do this. Just breathe. Oh. Despite Lucius's easy demeanor, I know this isn't a decision I should make lightly. We need to be turning you into a vampire, that's right. Turning into a vampire would be a tremendous change. Is it worth it in exchange for the promise of forever? Yes. Yes, it is. I'm very interested. No, I'm very interested. Yes, let's become a vampire. There's an indisputable appeal to immortality and power, along with a chance to share an eternity with my new beloved. Lucius's expression of absolute enthrallment only serves to bolster my decision. Then, on the twilight eve of your choosing, it shall be done. Your wish shall be my command whenever you are ready. The process may be painful at first, but I'm certain you will emerge from it more radiant and powerful than ever. Now, what was it you wished to discuss with me before we consummate our relationship? Oh, I mean, I'm a little embarrassed. You're going to laugh at me. Is laughing such a bad thing? I was wondering if you were the first Illuvian king, the one who surrendered his crown to the heavens? His bellowing laughter reverberates against the very walls. That's right. Okay, so if you don't remember from last time, we read this actually in the history when we were starting the very first part of this episode. But he was talking about a king in Illuvia who gave up his crown and gave it into the stars, and that turned into the constellation that he was looking at. And that was the story that we knew. And then he told us the story that the person from another land had told him, and that's what we read from the history. I don't remember what the story was, but that's what we read from the history. So this is a good callback. I like this callback, especially if you play this in one go and you didn't take a break, because this isn't very long. I feel like we're gonna finish. I'm also very scared they're gonna go into an 18+ thing. I knew you'd laugh at me. Oh, you jerk. Forgive me. It's just... Evelyn, you may need to relearn your history. Illuvia's first king reigned from the dawn of civilization. If I were him, I would be very old indeed. My father's side of the family did claim to be descended from this man, but birth certificates can be easily forged these days. I myself am no king. I was heir for a time, but I never ascended the throne. Which means you were a prince. I still am, if it pleases you. Ooh, I'm good with that. I love all the boxes this is checking, like vampire, sexy, prince, deep voice, check, great facial hair, check. Demon possessed hands, check. So good. Little gay, check. Lucius tilts his head, studying me as if a thought had just occurred to him. You know, Evelyn, you once said I had no whimsical books in the state, but I do have one on the subject of old myths around here somewhere. I should see about finding it. We still don't know his story, so I'm wondering if this is the end, or if there's more beyond it. Are you familiar with the story of Hesiod's jar? No? I think so. It's a box instead of a jar in some iterations, isn't it? The story involves someone opening a container, despite being warned not to touch it, and in doing so, they release all manner of curses upon mankind. Oh, Pandora's box. You truly do know your stories. I do. He caresses my cheek absent-mindedly. Aw, adorable. It is a tale that resonated with me for quite some time. I had a personal theory that there were two kinds of people in the world. The kind who prefers to live in a blissful, unobtrusive existence, who would never risk those curses, and the ones curious enough to open the box, even knowing the consequences that would befall them. I'm fairly certain of the answer, but Evelyn, what manner of person do you think you are? I'd rather be curious, even if it hurts at first. I would rather be curious. I'd rather be curious. You know me, don't you, Lucius? I have to see what's at the bottom of the jar. If I recall, despite its moral lessons of caution, the story has an optimistic ending. In the wake of curses they unleashed, the main character peered just once more into the container. They discovered that hope remained. Though the released curses were irreversible, hope would temper their effects. The true moral of the story is, although some curiosity can be a curse, more curiosity may be the cure. So given the choice, I have to open the jar. I would dig, I would rake and root, and I would untangle every web I find until I see things as they truly are. You would prefer to be curious rather than content. Yes, I would. Yes, is this a question of whether I'm gonna get the true ending? Because I will go for this true ending. If you're asking me if I'm gonna shoot past this blissfully happy ending to get to the real ending, you don't know me. Yeah, I will shoot past this. I will skip the sex scene. I'll do it. Don't tempt me. You see this box, if you open it, shit's gonna hit the fan so hard. All humanity will feel it. But don't you want to see what's in the box? Yes, I do. I do want to see what's in the box. Please let me open the box. I also feel like with our character, right, that she would want to tip the scales not in anybody's favor, but she would kind of want to like tip the seesaw, right? She'd want to like shift the order, the whatever piece is, because like she doesn't just want to just live a happy life, she wants to live her life. If she wanted to live a happy life, she would have just lived as the bard they wanted her to be and been content, but she wanted to live her life. She wanted to live by her rules. So I figured she would want to know if, even if it caused like some drastic consequences, because clearly she wanted to tell Ophelia about how bad she's been, even though there were drastic consequences. I do feel like there's more to this story, so please, please, please tell me that this is where we get more of it. I'm so interested. Yes, 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 yes. I do want mayhem. I think I cannot be content if I were forced to temper my curiosity. I see. I should have expected no less from a woman like you. Your relentless nature is one I've come to admire. This coming from a vampire with an inhuman sense of restraint? I should be flattered. I nudged him, half expecting him to laugh and tease that he may just let his ship slip tonight, but Lucius looks surprisingly contemplative. Lucius? Something the matter? I reach up to touch his face, feeling his jaw work under my fingers. He turns just enough to sigh warmly into my palm. I don't remember the last time I felt such harrowing happiness. I worry this blissful rapture of ours will be short-lived. Need we worry about such things so soon? He kisses my hand, soft and reverent. I prefer to chart out my worries sooner rather than later, Evelyn. There is something else I wish to share with you. Much like I've never told anyone about Gillian, this is a thought I've never voiced aloud. I believe you're the only one who will understand, who will help me understand. My eyelids flutter with wonder. My eyelids, my eyelashes. My eyelashes flutter with wonder. It's no surprise that a centuries-old vampire has accumulated enough troubles to plague his thoughts, though I'm a bit exasperated at his timing. Why bring this up now when I'm pinned in an intimate position against the wall? Because this is not the time, Evelyn! This is not the time, this is not the place. As someone great once said, there is a time and place for everything, but not now. I'm eager to be helpful. What's on your... Oh, that's my voice. I'm eager to be helpful. What's on your mind? Not here. I need to find something. Will you have a seat and wait for me? When are you gonna go grab? Of course. Lucius exhales sharply through his nose, relief and gratitude all at once, and presses his lips to my cheek. I start a modest fire in the earth while I wait for him, prodding the branches into position with that never-trusty fire iron. Once I'm done, I set the fire iron against the mantle where it belongs. I don't need it anymore. I recall the collection of weapons Lucius has stowed away in the underground, and I wonder if he can train me to wield one. Though I no longer feel the need to safeguard myself against him, an unwanted guest will surely have me singing a different tune. Not if we're gonna be a vampire, that's not the problem. Once we become a vampire, it won't be a problem. It would still be good to learn like self-defense and weapons, but once you're a vampire, like you have a whole different set of stuff to learn. Don't flick the banhammer on me, Lucius. Save me. Use your immortal wit to save me, Lucius. Ruin the mood. I need plot. When Lucius returns to my side, he's holding a flat frame of wood face down against his chest, wearing such a somber expression that I suspect he's brought me a mourning portrait. The frame is moderately sized, with a width that equals his shoulders, and a height spanning from his collarbone to his navel. Wow, that's really big. His whole torso? The wood is in the same shade of blackthorn as his coffin, which is in itself makes me uneasy. Evelyn, thank you for waiting. His eyes trail past me to stare at the massive ink stain at the center of the room. In the whirlwind of our unanticipated romance, I had completely forgotten to clean up. What did you do to my desk? Forgive me? I was looking for a rag to clean it with, but then I heard you screaming, and, well, we both got a little distracted after that, I think. A rag? We're looking for a rag. Evelyn, you spilled a tidal wave of ink on my desk and floor. No rag will be enough to clean it up. Yes, I suppose we want to use some lye soap to lift the stains. If we don't have any, say, why don't I use those tunnels to procure some supplies for the nearest town? While I'm at it, I can even barter for new instruments to entertain you with. New books for us to read? Lucius tears his attention away from the desk with visible effort. The desk is not that important. It clearly is important, Lucius. I'm truly sorry, and I want to make it up to you. He gives my shoulder an affectionate squeeze. You're good to me. You know, it never occurred to me that a guest can come and go freely using the tunnels. No one has ever used it to come back. Well, then it's a good thing I'm here to think out loud for you, huh? I coax Lucius to sit in his usual velvet chaise. He slumps down beside me, firelight dances over the planes of his face. What did you want to share with me? Lucius sighs. He runs his hand over his scalp, breaking eye contact. I haven't been able to stop thinking about the events that led to my exile. For so long I believed it was all unjust, that I was just suffering an unfair fate. But ever since you found that scrap of parchment, no, ever since I met you, you've encouraged me to reflect on myself, Evelyn, and I'm no longer certain of my innocence. What does that mean? What does that mean? Yeah, that's true. If she does become a vampire, she won't be able to use the tunnels anymore. But at that point, it sounds like if she becomes a true vampire and not just a vampire spawn, if she becomes a true vampire, okay, which, forgive me if my lore is off, but I'm pretty sure you become a vampire spawn if you only do the process halfway. The process is you have to be bitten, you have to have your blood taken from, and then you also have to take from a vampire to complete the process, and that makes you a full-fledged vampire instead of a vampire spawn. And there's like differences, I guess, between the two of them, but I think the main difference is like power, right? Vampires are just more powerful and longer lived than vampire spawn, I guess. But yeah, we won't be able to use it sounds like if we become a real vampire, we won't have to drink as much blood. We can drink fish blood like he does. And because we've never tasted human blood, we won't know the difference. And maybe we won't even drink human blood when it comes across. But we might try it. We might like it. I don't know. But it doesn't sound like we have to sustain ourselves on it. It could just be like a good vintage of wine, right? Like, I don't know. Just a thought, though. We'd be fine if we were immortal. We wouldn't need to go across. We wouldn't have to get books and shit like that. But eventually, the queen would send... If the queen is always destined to be egotistical, which was something that I talked about earlier, Mamster, I don't know if you were here for that or not, but I shared this theory that the queen is being, like, reincarnated into these girls that are taken from the orphanage that our main character is from. And if the queen is being like reincarnated and she's always supposed to be this like egotistical, like mean spirited, mean person, then she's probably going to send more people like our main character who speak out against her, or like Gillian, who painted a picture of a nobleman's daughter as the way that she is and made her lose her engagement with a potential suitor, and then she was left unwed, and then he went to the vampire for that. Like, there's gonna be people like that because she has to send somebody every 2 years, so she's just gonna start picking people eventually because she's a bad person. Like, this makes sense, right? Like, not everybody that they're gonna come across is gonna be bad. I'm not saying that like everybody's gonna be good, but like, I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. I think everything will be fine if we get turned into a vampire. I don't think we'll have to worry too much about like not getting books or not getting stories or things like that. And we're pretty well traveled, so like we saw the world, she says. So I'm assuming she knows her stuff about like places and stories and things like that, things pertaining to a bard. So I don't think he has any worry of like them not having things to talk about. Okay, although, what's that term for when you're just meeting a person and then you guys hit it off really well and then it only lasts for a brief time? I don't remember the term, but it could be that. It could just be that they're figuring things out about each other, and then he likes that. I don't like to think about that. I like to think he likes this for us. You've encouraged me to reflect on myself, Evelyn. Yeah, tell me the plot, please. I'm no longer certain of my innocence. Funny that you mention innocence. I recently began questioning the very concept. Good things don't always come to virtuous people, just as evil doesn't always get punished. When the world itself is unjust, one sense of innocence is not enough to guarantee their safety and freedom. God, just look at what happened to Gillian, murdered in cold blood for trusting in the goodness of his fellow man. We are not pure faultless beings, Lucius. When we are placed in positions of suffering, we often need to become worse to survive. It's not strange to become blemished when we fall. You said it yourself that no one is perfect. I know. I knew you might say this, which is why I need you to see what I've brought. I put the pieces of the portrait back together. Its edges are frayed, and some parts are still missing, but he turns the frame face up. This is the queen that exiled him, Hildebrand. And assumptively, she was the queen 300 years ago. And I'm gonna bet right here, right now, I'm gonna bet. I don't know what I'm gonna bet, but I'm just gonna say she definitely is gonna talk about how they have the same eyes. And it's gonna be like a conspiracy leading towards what I was talking about. Bet, please, please. That would be so cool. I want a larger mystery. I feel myself turn pale at the eyes of the portrait, me my own. The depicted woman looks as if she's made from ivory and rose leaves. Her resting and imperious beauty, her very essence is masterfully captured in swooping lines of charcoal and ink. All too well I know those regally arched brows and those taut, slender shoulders. How could I ever forget? Ophelia? Why do you have a portrait of Ophelia? This portrait depicts Queen Hildegard Edgehaven, the ruling crown from more than 3 centuries past. She was... That's why nobody's supposed to take... Oh! Is she also a vampire? Is she a competing vampire? That would make sense. Because they talk about how you're not supposed to take pictures of her. You're not supposed to draw portraits of her. And I think it's because she stays out of sight, because, like I was saying before, she's some kind of like lich or immortal person of some kind that doesn't want to be noticed as an immortal, right? Clearly it's her. She's my mother. Oh, I did not think of that. I did not think of it being his mom. Oh, what does this mean? Okay, so what do we know? What do we know about this? What? Your mother? You told me he was a prince, but oh gods, Lucius, you were exiled by your own mother? Exiled and cursed with that. You need to sit down. I'm already sitting down. We both are. Why does your mother look so much like Ophelia? They can't be related by blood, can they? I studied the features of the portrait more closely. Like sisters, they share an eerie resemblance. The same full lips, the same apple curve of cheekbones, the same pert, pointed nose, but slowly I noticed subtle differences. Ophelia loved to smile. Even when she was simpering or sly, she always had a lively sense of joy that was contagious to everyone around her. The queen in the portrait has an icy, judging stare and seems to reverse roles with her viewer as she calculates where to place them. Her head is tilted at a faint angle, with something about her dark eyes look half dead. While I doubt Ophelia is related to Queen Hildegard, I also doubt the resemblance is mere coincidence. Because it's easier, I bet it's easier for whatever immortal being or whatever is going on to be in a person that looks like her. In fact, I suspect every single queen over the past 3 centuries bears a resemblance to the woman in this portrait. That's why they don't want pictures of her. Isn't it strange, Evelyn, that we've had an unbroken line of cruel, corrupt crowns who do little to better the lives of their people, even when they previously expressed an interest in breaking tradition? Surely they cannot all be so weak-willed they would bend to the demands of their court and status quo. Isn't it strange that they're not allowed to be depicted in portraits or seen in public? They're not even allowed to stay in touch with anyone they knew prior to their regency. Almost as if the very act of sitting on the throne compels them to behave in an unanimous way. Or perhaps the person on the throne never changes. What are you saying? I admit, I'm not sure how to even start explaining my rationale. I didn't even consider the thought that they're just using girls to say they're on the throne. Start at the beginning, please. I'll try. As you're aware, I've been unable to set foot outside this estate since the moment of my exile. This means I've never had the chance to encounter your Ophelia, but I can tell you what I know of Queen Hildegard. Evelyn, how widespread is the practice of sorcery on the world outside? Sorcery? I have little experience with it, but I don't think it's prevalent. There are small sects of wizardry and alchemy in certain kingdoms. Some royal families keep court magicians, that's all I know. Just nods. It was even less prevalent when I was a mortal man. Magic was an elusive art form that few were equipped to pursue. Yet my mother, I was told she began practicing sorcery soon after I was born. She had severe complications when she was heavy with child, and nearly did not survive. Very close to death changed her. It terrified her more than anything. I always wondered if that was the reason behind the cold demeanor she'd have towards me. That she harbored a single grudge because my very existence nearly killed her once. She barely deigned to speak with me and was quick to hand me off to the servants. My father, the king at the time, assured me that she simply needed to warm up to being a mother. I knew he was wrong when she adopted and doted over 2 young girls. As king and queen, my parents were under an extraordinary amount of pressure to produce continual heirs. Learn your drink. This is it. This is the plot I wanted. Since the idea of giving birth upset my mother so deeply, they adopted Matilda and Artemisia in secret to appease their court. The girls resembled them enough to pass as their real children. You did tell me you had sisters. Yes, I used to call them my mother's little pets, and secretly I envied them. They inherited the throne after Queen Hildegard's reign, didn't they, Evelyn? Tell me more about your mother. Her contempt for me was more noticeable with Matilda and Artemisia running amok. She was so protective of them, never allowed them to be set foot beyond the palace gates, never allowed them to be seen by outsiders. I became prone to debauchery for a while, drinking to excess, streaking through the hedges, and sleeping with handmaidens who were far too old for me. But all these calls for attention were duly ignored, aside from the occasional slap on the wrist from my father. It never hurt. He was a thin, reedy man, and so easily influenced to submit to the will of others. Easily influenced? You sound like you dislike him, Lucius. No, I should say I never resented him, though I found it difficult to respect him. If he were not the ruler of a nation, such weakness and inertia may have been charming. You've grown up very different from him then. Would hope so. He was far from an aspirational figure in my mind. Now, where was I? We were talking about being prone to debauchery, sorry. That's right, debauchery. The phase didn't last long. When I realized I continued to be bereft of the attention I desired, all I had left to do was focus on my studies. As heir, there was much to keep me occupied. It was on my 20th birthday that one of Queen Hildegard's spells went awry. She buried an entire wing of the palace in noxious mist. Anyone who breathed it in excess withered into a bone-dry corpse, as if all the moisture had been drained from their flesh. Several members of our staff died where they stood, and several more had lifelong complications. Guilty breathing, periodic convulsions, and an eternal itch of the skin. Oh gods, were you alright? Lucius scoffed out a small chuckle. It's kind of you to ask, but I was nowhere near the wing. My celebrations took place in the Great Hall. I felt the tremor of the spell's impact even there. Matilda was fine as well because she had snuck down to see me, but Queen Hildegard and Artemisia suffered from the aftereffects of the spell. Artemisia had to have her hand amputated. Oh gods, and your mother? Queen Hildegard was bedridden for a long time. My father grew enough of a backbone to forbid the use of magic within castle walls, and news of his decision devastated her. Back then, I had no idea what she was trying to accomplish. She never spoke to me after all, though I noticed she had accumulated a collection of tomes and talismans. I began sifting through her materials, trying to make sense of what had happened when she called for me. Not for my sisters, not for my father, me. Lucius exhales a shaky breath, and I give his knee a gentle squeeze. Forgive me. This is a difficult part of my past to relive. This is when things went irrevocably wrong. I never should have agreed to see her. I should have shown her the same scorn she'd always shown me. It was your mother, Lucius. Even if she'd done something horrifying, I understand why you went to her. Still, this is a difficult subject for you. But please continue. No, I need to know the role I played in the sordid affair, Evelyn. How complicit I was in it. Lucius' eyes are racked with a deep, despairing trepidation that I find myself gripping a cushion for support. What happened? Complicit all those years ago? What could he possibly have done that would have such a profound effect on him still? In that case, I'm listening. I'm not sure how this is linked to Ophelia, or if Lucius even intends to redirect the conversation to my old friend, but the fact that Queen Hildegard adopted 2 girls who resembled her, something about that detail tugs at me like the snag of a fishhook on my mind. My sisters, oh how they sobbed at my mother's door, begging for entry. My sisters, oh how they sobbed at my mother's door, begging for entry. It was just Matilda at first, but Artemisia joined her the minute she recovered from the amputation. My mother refused to see them, shunned them with the same coldness I knew so well. Though I thought I would feel satisfied when I pushed past them into the chambers. She'd finally refused them and chosen me. It was like I'd won something. But those little wailing faces, shiny and stained with snot and tears, there was no satisfaction to be had. I only felt sorry for them. They were eager to idolize her. Yes. They were eager to idolize her. Yes, heartbreakingly so. My mother's bed was the size of a ship, and she was propped up in its corner on a snow-drifted of pillows. I remember looking away from her, pliant, and observing her through the full-length mirror embedded in the wall. Her reflection looked, well, bright-eyed and pink-skinned, better than I'd seen her in a recent memory, though her movements were sluggish as she beckoned me with 2 wide arms and a drowsy smile. Then she held me close and cooed over my height. Felt more like being in the embrace of a distant aunt than a mother, but I cherished that thin guise of a matronly affection anyway. I tried to look impassive as she confided in me. She talked at length about her deep-seated fear of death and her lonely toil of trying to overcome it. She dug under her pillows and produced a book, a hideous thing that's made my skin crawl. Its book cover looked a little too much like it's sewn haphazardly using scraps of human flesh. Is it our book? Is this how we're tied into it? She refused to let me take a closer look, but she haltingly informed me that she traded part of her soul to create it. She is a lich. She did pull an Necronomicon. She's a lich. I fucking knew it. It was an infernal grimoire. My mother, the queen, had become a full-blooded witch straight out of a fairy tale. She told me that the mist was a horrendous accident, that she'd only intended to curdle her own bodily functions as a means of achieving immortality. Apparently the spell was disrupted when Artemisia wandered in at an inopportune time, causing the eruption of mist in the wing. Though the power of the grimoire was great, she knew then that it was too dangerous and difficult to control. She said that she needed to look into other options. Lucius laughed ruefully. I convinced myself I had no reason to doubt her, my own mother. Even then, her explanation made no sense, but I surmised that a half-curdled body was a reasonable cause for her bedridden state. She then asked me to assist her in overcoming the affliction of death. She said that she could trust no one else and that she would be glad to share eternity with me once we discovered its secrets. What manner of son would I be if I said no after she'd finally worked up all the courage to bear the contents of her heart after all this time? That odd sequence of words clicked in my head into place, the words he'd screamed from the confines of his coffin. Did everything she asked. I did. I leapt at the chance to become her research assistant, her little pet. I lost sleep studying ancient tomes day and night. I used every resource available to me, organizing expeditions, hiring treasure hunters and informants, all to comb through the farthest corners of the earth, the mere sign of eternal life. Queen Hildegard did her part in the research, but her work had to be discreet. We began spending much of our time here because she was forbidden from practicing sorcery in the main palace. He did get played. Lucius swings his arm in a slow arc to indicate our surroundings. Our summer estate. She used to call it our mother and son getaway, as if it were a vacation. This is what I don't like about manipulative mothers, right? They're so quick to play on the emotions of somebody who has been emotionally abused by them for so long because they can get just an ounce of attention, right? Because it's all they've ever wanted is an ounce of attention from them, whether it be good or bad. So be damned the consequences. It's rough. It's rough. I feel you there, bro. I feel you. I stare at him, and then I see the chamber in a different light as I follow the gesture of his arm. It's strange to imagine the estate as anything other than my new home. I try to picture Lucius and the woman in the portrait working late into the night, burning candles down to wax puddles. Part of me is anxious to skip to the story's end, knowing Lucius's fate all too well. However, a much larger part of me needs to hear how it happened. I need to know what led to Lucius becoming a vampire, exiled and alone in his own estate. One day, at last, my efforts bore fruit. A wizened collector of curiosities sold me fragments of an ancient ritual, and she claimed it was one of the oldest forms of immortality. Although the full precise method was lost, we are now graced with some of its steps. It was remarkable timing, too. My resources were depleting fast, and the court asked questions that were becoming difficult to assuage. But at that point, my mother had become more proficient at witchcraft. Though she mainly used it to keep her youth from fading, we were able to use her practical knowledge and my investigative findings to reconstruct the ritual. I picked up on some basics of magic, meanwhile, not enough to just construct original spells the way she did, but enough to understand how hers worked. It still took years of trial and error. My father and his court continued asking their questions, but it was easier to appease them after I stopped draining the royal coffers. I remember Queen Hildegard being relieved by this. She always insisted she could not be linked to our work. I understood her concern. My father had such unfavorable stance towards her interest in magic, and I certainly did not wish to see strife in my parents' union. I was fine with lying on her behalf, which is how you're complicit. When we were ready to undergo the ritual, my mother bade me to go first. I was so healthy and young compared to her, a frail and anxious old woman. I wish I could say I hesitated to obey her. Everything she asked. This echo's words were sounding less like buzzing locusts and more like a death knell. I thought it was a success. My old scars healed over in an instant. My vision improved, and I dare say I looked easier on the eyes. Yet it wasn't long before we noticed side effects. We had discovered one of the oldest forms of immortality, alright, and its costs would make themselves known. Ah! My alarm went off. We are past time, but that's okay. I want to finish this. This is rough because I can see everybody's positions, right? I can see Hildegard's, obviously she has the son who is expendable to her, so she's going to use him and all of his knowledge that he's gained by being prince to make her immortal because she never intended to give him the crown. And so she's gonna use her daughters or whatever to never die ever again. I bet that's where we're going with this. My teeth and fingers were evidently sharper. I could no longer step into broad daylight or enter homes uninvited and become a vampire. My reflection was simply gone. I lacked the mindless bloodlust that typically accompanied my condition, but no longer being human was a wholly unexpected corollary of the ritual. We had recreated the dark gift in its purest form, Evelyn, a process that allowed the first vampires to roam in eternal darkness. However, in exchange, I had lost my privilege of walking among mortal men. Queen Hildegard was dissatisfied with the results of my transformation. Despite gaining the power and immortality she craved, in her eyes I was a failed experiment. Yeah, exactly. Expendable. He leaves a pain, bitter pause. She was cold to me again, and I hated it. I knew I'd disappointed her. I would have given anything to regain her affection. That infernal grimoire. She liked to keep it close, but she couldn't be seen carrying such a ghoulish-looking thing. Once she was forced to leave it unattended, I seized the opportunity to leaf through its pages. I thought that I could still be useful. I knew she'd been looking into other rituals, other methods of immortality. But the horrors I found in that wretched book, gods, the way she was planning to use all the materials and ingredients I'd gathered, it sent me into a panic. She was going to take it too far. I wanted to dissuade her, to reason with her, but she was incensed when she learned I touched the grimoire. She punished me. She gathered my most favored attendants and had them all slaughtered. Everyone who knew about my condition, everyone who would speak out on my behalf, they were all put to death. And then she made me take the fall. My mother dumped the bodies in the wine cellar and bound me to that coffin to miss them. As I understand it, she said I'd killed them, went on to call me a monster without a shred of remaining humanity, claiming she saved the kingdom from my reign of terror. I don't know what else she told my father or what she specifically said to the court. When I emerged from the coffin, I was alone in the estate and surrounded by the corpses of people I held dear. And I drank from them. There was no saving them, but I felt disgusted with myself even now. Lucius had turned from me, so I could only see the silhouetted glow of firelight on the contour of his cheek. I felt stranded, stuck processing the grievous enormity of his origin. The room seemed dimmer and colder as the minutes tick on. I don't know what it was like to have a mother, but I know what it's like to crave for someone's approval. I can't say whether or not I would have made the same decisions as Lucius, but being born by Queen Hildegard undeniably set him a narrow trajectory. How can I possibly condemn him for that? Exactly, right? He can't help that he was born a prince to Queen Hildegard, and he can't help that she had this insane fear of death that led her to do insane things. And use him. He could not have been he was, I guess, compliant in the way that he's thinking of doing her bidding and doing whatever she wants, but he was being manipulated and abused. He'd always been manipulated and abused. In that aspect, he's always been a victim. So he may be guilty of doing what his mother asked, but there's a lot more context to it when you add in the fact that he was abused his entire childhood and then was suddenly asked to do something important by her and given attention and care and love for the first time. That's also abuse. Exactly. If he did those things for the sake of his own desire, but with time came to regret it and stuff, that would leave some room for interpretation. Exactly. I think in this aspect, they've done a really good job of painting him as if you want to consider it, that he's guilty, a guilty victim at least. Guilty of being manipulated and abused, clearly. But who deserves that, right? Like, there's nothing else you could have done, Lucius. Wasn't there? You blame yourself too severely. Your mother, Queen Hildegard. She led me into the abyss. Darkness, yes. She took me and delved deep into the dark arts. But I bowed my head and I followed. But again, you weren't raised with the backbone to go against her. You were being actively abused. You would not hold such power now if I dared to defy her even once. What do you mean now? Lucius glances at me before scowling at the fire, his hands open and close in an uneasy rhythm around the picture frame. Lucius, tell me, help me understand. Do you know how my parents died? Every orphan from the Nightingale Gardens can recite the names and prominent facts about the royal family. Before I ran away, the matrons managed to drill the knowledge to my skull through stringent repetition, and occasionally be a whipping switch across our palms. I haven't thought about the Illuvian history in a long time, but I can recall it as easily as my fonder memories. His Majesty King Frederick Edgehaven died of an illness. His queen never remarried, and she died of old age. Died of old age? Isn't that odd? You think such obsession with immortality can simply wither away over time? Because she found another way to stay alive, Evelyn. I know it for a fact. The spells she composed in her grimoire were horrific. Compelled servitude, summoning demons, hexes, plagues, and of course, consuming the life essence of another person. So she lives on, whispering nefarious plots into the crown's ear like some evil vizier? I'm telling you, she sits on the throne still, Evelyn. This spell, when concentrated on a single victim, it takes everything from them. It steals their energy, their youth, and even their face. Everything, until the victim shrivels and collapses, lifeless, leaving only the thief with her new body. Yeah, she's a body thief. That's what I thought! Memories rush back in a flash. My performance before the Queen's court. I felt the bile rising in the back of my throat. No. I didn't know it then, but I know it now. Queen Hildegard meant to cast it on my sister and misfired due to the immensity of the grimoire's power. It scared her then, made her back off, made her cold towards her own daughters. Only then did she seek an alternate method through me, but oh, I'm certain she kept that consumption spell in mind all the while. Perhaps poor Artemisia wasn't a suitable vessel, even after the second attempt years after my exile. Queen Hildegard would have moved on to the spare body, Matilda. But once Matilda was spent, she would need another body and then another, preferably with faces that resembled hers. She was always terribly vain. No, I refuse to believe it. I stand and find myself reeling, dizzy from the abrupt change in altitude. Lucius reaches to steady me, but I shrug him off. I need my journal. Wait here. I darted at the room, breathing hard and clasping my hand over my mouth as I tried to keep the sensation of sickness from spilling out. I kept the journal underneath my pillow when I don't have it on hand. It doesn't take me long to retrieve it. My fingers are trembling when I slam my journal before us. Ophelia sent me this journal a month before she left for the palace. Tell me, Lucius, would your queen wait that long to consume her? Yes. The consumption of life essence is a gruesome spell, but it is one of her simpler ones. After some refinement, Queen Hildegard no longer needed her grimoire to cast it. It only requires an amount of the victim's hair as a conduit, to be carefully collected over a period of time. Evelyn, you confirmed it for me when you said yourself, the woman on the throne was not your Ophelia. I knew this would cause you pain. I didn't want to tell you, but I'm so glad you told us. I'm so glad you told us. But I said I would rather be curious. I said I'd rather know the truth. I do want to know the truth. There was a throbbing, quivering ache behind my eyes. My thoughts were crashing together and it was difficult to string them into coherent words. You can do this, girl. I believe in you. You can do this. We can do this for the truth. The truth is important. The truth is always better. You would want to know this. You wouldn't want him to keep the secret from you, right? My tingling skin feels increasingly numb. All I know for certain is that I have no tears left to shed. You didn't know for certain until you met me? My previous guests were either uneducated or thoroughly disinterested in politics. Many of them could not read. The crown had been careful not to send anyone who would rouse my suspicions, but she was careless when she met you. You're the only one to have known an Illuvian queen prior to her reign. I've seen her before and after she took the throne, and you know just enough Illuvian history to help me complete this dreadful puzzle. Evelyn, will you tell me who the crown was after Queen Hildegard? Queen Artemisia Attain. Indeed. Did she ever marry? No, she died young and left the third to her sister. That means Artemisia had no children. What was the name of the sister who ruled after her? Matilda. Queen Matilda Edgehaven. She was the one who founded my orphanage. Yes, Nightingale Gardens, named as such for our father's affinity for songbirds. Not that Matilda would have spent long enough time with our father to know such a thing. It must have made her very popular indeed when she declared the next crown to be chosen from there, routinely elevating commoners to nobility. She endeared herself to her people by choosing an orphan girl as a successor, but she was sucking the life from them. Instead of the numerous eligible candidates for Grand Dukes and Counts, orphan girls would continue to be chosen for as long as the next monarch upholds the custom. Matilda didn't have any heirs either, did she? To have 3 queens in a row so adverse to childbirth. It's a strange pattern for a kingdom that once devoutly emphasized divine birthright. Lucius. And I expect all the queens after them remain childless and unmarried. Am I wrong? At first, I thought I was delusional for even considering the possibility. I hoped I had too much time to think, let my fancies get away from me. But when you told me about Ophelia's changed demeanor, I'm truly, truly sorry, Evelyn. It brings me no joy to reveal the truth, but I knew it'd be wrong to withhold it from you. So you're telling me that this centuries-old witch has been using my orphanage as some sort of body-snatching orchard where she can freely take her pick? All that bullshit about guaranteeing us a place in high society? All a front so the queen could secure someone who looks similar to herself? That Ophelia wasn't selected for her intelligence or for any of her virtues, but so that she could be sacrificed for the queen to wear her face? It's too horrible to accept. As my hands curl into crumbling fists, my nails dig deep, half moons gouging into my palms. The anger crackling through my bones is as ridiculous as it is unbearable. My emotions are useless and fervid, like a bonfire caught under a downpour. The throbbing ache behind my eyes feels increasingly hollow. Ophelia is dead, then. She lived on only in my thoughts because that thing murdered her and took her place. I feel like the biggest fool in the lands. No, Evelyn. Am I not? I've spent so long feeling sorry for myself, so long missing her and crying like a child. All this time she was never even alive to know it. What did she ever do to deserve such a fate? Why her? Lucius gives me a long, pained look. We both know the reason. Neither of us wishes to voice it aloud now, as if the senseless tragedy caused by a self-serving witch would hurt less this way. I belt out a bitter, mirthless laugh, pressed my palms against my eyes. I think that I'll never see her again. Not the real her, I corrected myself quietly. Evelyn, look at me. Lucius sets the portrait down, shifting to kneel before me and catch my gaze, but I can't even meet him halfway. My vision is swimming, pitch black at the edges as I glare at the portrait with newfound hatred. It stares back at me with those dead eyes, dark and domineering. This wretched woman, this witch stole Ophelia from me. She stole the throne from her own son, and if she doesn't stop, she'll go on to steal the futures of countless more girls. But what can I possibly do to stop her now? This humiliating powerlessness makes me realize why Lucius tore the drawing to shreds. I'm tempted to seize it and launch it right into the fireplace myself. Could I have helped her escape if I knew the truth sooner? Is there anything I could have done to save Ophelia? This is what I'm thinking too. It's time to get swole. It's time to become vampires and become hunters of the crown. Like, it's time to go rogue. Does anyone know how much evil this woman has inflicted on her own kingdom, aside from the vampire prince she'd forsaken? Lucius gingerly takes my hands in his own, but I'm too numb to reciprocate. The artist took great pains to draw attention to her loathsome face. Did Gillian know how vile of a beast he'd captured on parchment when he rendered her likeness? He knew she was my mother. And that she was the one who banished me, but he never learned the full context. You were the only one I've trusted enough to. He trails off, perhaps second-guessing his decision to confide in me. Part of me wants to smile for him, even though it will soon waver, to soothe him, even though my voice will crack, but I'm still unable to tear my eyes from the portrait. Delicate lace trim on the dress and the gemstones of the queen's crown have been smudged, but her pendant was carefully carved into the parchment with dark, determined lines. I squint harder at it. How hadn't I noticed this before? Keep safe. What? This symbol, Lucius, what is the meaning of this symbol? I reach for the portrait, then think better of it and flip open my songwriting journal for him. There on the first page beneath the leather brown cover is a red ink design that matches its charcoal counterpart. A jeweled pendant encircled by a knotted half-wreath of thorns. What? Lucius lurches as if he means to stand, but bends back down to study my journal with increasing agitation. What? It can't be. His eyes are wide and darting as he looks at me, caught somewhere between pleading and thoroughly rattled. Evelyn, can I take a closer look? My throat clenches tight with instinctive apprehension. I've never allowed anyone to look at my journal. Touching it has been completely out of the question. But I need to know the truth. I want to trust Lucius to help me find it. All these years of keeping my journal safe, of keeping myself safe, I wonder if I've been waiting for the reckoning of this very moment. With wordless reluctance, I place the book in his waiting hands. Lucius immediately stands, pacing and holding it with uneasy reverence. He turns its pages more hastily by the second. How do you even have this? How long? You've written all over the damn thing. He tangles his fingers through his hairline, leaving frayed, frazzled strands in his wake as he flips back to the inside cover. Lucius faces me with a mystified scowl. The symbol of her pact. The deal the queen made when she sacrificed part of her soul to augment her magical prowess. To make this. He shuts the book and holds it up, shaking it with grave emphasis. Her infernal grimoire. But the cover is different. Why is the cover different? What happened to it? And you took it everywhere, Evelyn? Through mud and prison cells and tavern brawls? Gods in heaven, you had it with you when you performed before my mother? Wait, slow down. How can it be the same grimoire? It was completely blank, other than Ophelia's note to keep it safe. Or to keep myself safe. I was never quite sure which. Lucius humors me by re-examining the inside cover of the book. After a moment, he scoffs out loud. Then he begins to laugh, deflated beside me on the velvet chase. He laughs and laughs, his sagged shoulders quaking with bone-weary hysteria. The fates are terribly fickle, aren't they? You weren't wrong about her after all, Evelyn. Your Ophelia was as sharp as a knife. It seems she did not part in her changing of Illuvia's future. She did her part in changing Illuvia's future. She did? Lucius taps the book a few times against his palm as if he's reluctant to part with it. Still, he doesn't take it longer than a heartbeat to hand it to me. This is all you have to remember her by, isn't that right? You should hang on to this book. You've been marvelous at caring for it thus far. There's no reason to stop now. There's a small confused pang in my chest as I accept it from him. I leaf through its pages, marveling at what secrets they must hold. First she steals food from the orphanage. Then she steals a grimoire from a witch queen. Sounds par for the course, wouldn't you say? Your mother must have been furious. I linger on the inside cover one more time. Safe. As they bore down on those benign little words, Lucius drags his forefinger along the inside seam. You see this? The thread is exposed and loose here. Its color doesn't match the rest of the book. Ophelia must have waited for the queen to leave the grimoire unattended, much like I did. She replaced its cover to hide her swapping ruse for as long as possible. Even if the queen sent her entire army to search for the grimoire, they would not know what to look for. They would not know its new appearance. Be that as it may, why in heaven would Ophelia go through the trouble of stealing it and sending it to me? If she discovered the queen's scheme, why didn't she flee the palace and save herself? You knew her much better than I ever will, Evelyn, but let's say she did successfully escape, despite the queen's best efforts to hunt her down and detain her. What do you think would have happened afterwards? Your mother is relentless, isn't she? If so, she would have found another girl. Someone else would have suffered in Ophelia's place. Would your Ophelia have allowed that to transpire? Yeah, right? Ophelia just did a march and a move. It's time for us to rise as hunters. Hunt the queen, eat the rich. Another pang ripples through my chest. A choke noise escapes me as I part my lips to speak. Lucius reaches out once more to hold my hand, grounding me with a sympathetic grip. A faint thought crosses my mind like a whisper, that he of all people knows what it's like to lose someone he loved. I unfurl my fingers just enough to gently squeeze back. Ophelia liked to inconvenience others sometimes, but she never wanted to cause any actual harm. She would have done everything in her power to avoid it. I suspected as much. Being her veneer of being a cunning little scoundrel, I believe you said she was kind. Beneath her veneer. Besides, this prompted her to send the grimoire to the only orphan in Illuvia who both despised Nightingale Gardens and was fiercely protective of her belongings. So protective, in fact, that she refused to trade her loot to a vampire in exchange for her freedom. That's true, we did do that. I think Ophelia trusted that you'd resist those powers, those in power, Evelyn. My lip quivers. I look away from him in haste, and mercifully, he no longer pleases me to make eye contact. All these years of carting around this wretched book, carrying out the command of those two hastily scrawled words, it was rather gratifying, but it felt so stupidly important. But now Lucius is telling me that maybe, just maybe, it wasn't as stupid as I thought? I don't know if his speculations are true, but his logic has a sense of significance and faith. I have to admit, it's appealing to hear. If the reality of what happened aligns with what he believes, there's a reason she didn't destroy it, isn't there? The grimoire, I mean. You don't know. How would I know such a thing? I'm not the witch's research assistant. My tone is snappier than I intended. Forgive me, magic was not uncommon, but I thought precautions against magic were fairly rudimentary. I truly meant no offense. I forgive you. I'm sorry too. I meant to tease you, but it seems it did not land. His lips quirk into a half-hearted grin. Our banter is a short-lived slip into normalcy. You can tell I'm still hurting. Destroying a grimoire releases the powers contained within. The queen's soul will be restored and she'll be free to create a second grimoire. When I was mortal, we refrained from destroying books for this very reason. One never knows if an infernal pact is sealed in its passages. Keeping grimoires far away from their wielders is the best way to cut down their power, and you, Evelyn, you performed that task splendidly. Ophelia would be so proud of you. I exhale a sharp, shuddering breath that grazes the inside of my chest like a wreath of thorns. This is my cue to break down into impassioned sobbing, and then mourning every key memory and lost moment I failed to treasure when Ophelia was alive. Although I picture myself in the state of breaking beautifully, my tear ducts remain relentlessly, shamefully dry. My mind is once more abuzz with growing noise. Can we use this, Lucius? The grimoire. Is there anything in here that can restore my friend? Lucius's eyes crinkle with inward anguish, but he does not look away. He meets my wavering gaze with steely resolve. Queen Hildegard was interested in only prolonging her life, not in cheating death. She never worked on such spells to my knowledge, and I myself only studied it in passing. Last I heard, necromancy is ghastly, unrewarding art form. You can restore one's body, but a spirit once departed is lost for good. I see. I suppose Ophelia wouldn't want to come back anyway, not if it meant losing an integral part of who she was. So I need to tell myself I want to move on. What would be the point of reanimating a corpse if it didn't have her in it? In my own way, I already mourned her the day she left the orphanage. Perhaps some part of me never stopped. We do need to throw hands if the queen shows up. I'm really excited. I'm excited to see where this goes. I thought we were getting close to the end, but it doesn't seem like we're getting close to the end. It seems like there's a false ending there. Still, it's crushing to accept that this loss is a permanent one. Lucius watches me for a while, shoulders slumped. Evelyn, if I may offer a rather more selfish suggestion, there are other spells we may use to our benefit. Lucius hesitates before carefully correcting himself. To my benefit. Even now, he's exercising restraint, folding his arms against his chest with humility when he'd embraced me with such passion not so long ago. It reminds me of how he kept his distance at the start of my stay, and in alarming deduction, I realized he's holding himself back out of consideration for me. Both then and now, he wanted me to feel safe enough to say no. I was afraid he would hurt me when I first met him. My biases formed by the outside world ensured I would fear him when I met him. I was so afraid he would hurt me that I felt little desire to understand him. Yet now that I know him, I'm beginning to suspect my feelings for him border on violent adoration. There's no better antidote to fear than that. My heart remains heavy. I expect it will remain for some time. Somehow, at the same time, it's full to bursting as I lean close to him. I can feel his lashes against my brow as our foreheads softly meet. Evelyn? My feelings towards you are unchanged, Lucius. I care for you still. Thank you for sharing everything with me. I can't imagine how hard it must have been to make that decision. Why do you look so surprised? I was never upset with you, you know. You weren't the one who killed all those girls. You didn't kill Ophelia. But He trails off when I wrinkle my nose at him, possibly because he knows how viciously I would argue with him if he tries to list any of his self-accusatory crimes. You have a unique talent in making me reconsider what I'm about to say. You even render me speechless sometimes. Ew, that's great. Sounds like I was right. Allow me to settle this with saying this, Evelyn. I do not wish to ask anything of you. I love you, but I know you still need time to grieve. I will. I have plenty of time to do so after you tell me how we can use the grimoire to your benefit. Very well. Yeah, what can we do? If I remember correctly, the grimoire contains a spell that was used to bind me to the coffin. Is that so? You could benefit from binding me to your company as your cursed coffin companion? My voice is a little bit less teasing than I expected, and Lucius doesn't take the hint looking horrified. Oh no. No, Evelyn, don't be foolish. Absolutely not. I would never wish such a fate on you. What I'm saying is that I'm able to break the curse if I can study how it works. You can do that? I believe so. I have no talent for devising my own spells, but reversing one is far simpler than casting one. Lucius, that would be incredible. That means no more claustrophobic night terrors, no more pain grimaces. What else? My thoughts race and tangle with possibilities, but they all arrive at a single resounding conclusion. Lucius, you'd be able to leave their estate, wouldn't you? We could leave together. Oh, that's perfect. Tunnels will be a daunting adventure, but yes, if this works, I would no longer be bound to the estate. I could accompany you if you would still have me. Of course I would. I pause for a moment, collecting my thoughts, my grip firm on the journal. What about? I gesture at him, uncertain. With a small pained smile, he shakes his head. No, even my mother couldn't reverse it, and as strange as it may sound, I don't think I would wish to not be a vampire anymore. It's been part of who I am for so long. That's very true. You lived like, what, 20, 30 years as a mortal man, and then you suddenly turned to a vampire for 300 years? That's like 100 times, no, 10 times your lifespan, right? Like, that's a lot. That's a lot of time to live. If I lost this, I'm afraid I wouldn't know how to be myself anymore. Very fair. Finally, I put my hand on his to squeeze it. I understand. I love you the way you are. Sorry for asking. No need to apologize, Evelyn. Your curiosity was legitimate, and I know you meant well. Even so, This time, he's the one stopping me from saying nonsense by pressing his lips against mine. Overwhelmed by a lot of conflicting emotions, I close my eyes to deepen the kiss. Everything is still a little fuzzy in my head. The Queen, Ophelia, the spellbook, but at least I find comfort in being with Lucius. My hand slides through his hair, clutching it between my fingers to keep moving away from me. No matter what lies ahead, at least we'll be together. The end. Breaking the spell was no small task. I wasn't much help, but Lucius' memory was distant and fragmented, but with time and patience, we managed to decipher all the spells in the book until we found the right one. Part of me was unwilling to trust anything from that cursed grimoire, but I could sense how eager Lucius was to attempt it. Despite my reservations, I couldn't keep him waiting. Every night, his cries reminded me of what was at stake. Whatever happened could not be worse than what he was already enduring. My fears were baseless. After an exhaustive ceremony that required far too much blood for my liking, Lucius was released. His curse lifted, his costume burst into flames, leaving only a pile of ashes behind as a remainder of his long suffering. Although he knew that nothing kept him in his old prison anymore, it took him several days to attempt walking through the tunnel. The water still distressed him, and only my presence at his side gave him the strength to venture into the moat. Hand in hand. With both of us now free to travel, I took him to the neighboring kingdom. It was my greatest joy to show him the most astonishing wonders I'd seen and the vast landscapes he'd been missing for so many years. I wasn't afraid when Lucius punctured my flesh and drank deeply from me. I knew what I wanted, and I wouldn't be denied. Happily ever after! I have eternity by his side, even if it cost me the sun itself. My transformation was a gradual one. My skin slowly turned much paler than his, just as my heartbeat grew fainter and my hunger grew stronger. My fangs were by far the most uncomfortable change, and I wept as they pushed and strained through my gums. However, after they had fully grown out, I found them quite fetching. Living at night did not trouble me after all. Night was the time when bards shone in the brightest. No, the hardest trial of all was dealing with the bloodlust that had taken a hold of me. In spite of my strength of character, it was an agony to resist. Every time I came across a human being, I could hear, no, feel their heart beating, and I could barely keep myself in check. Fortunately, Lucius was by my side through it all, taking care of me. Patiently, firmly, he kept me from doing something I would forever regret. When the bloodlust grew too strong, he accompanied me to a deserted forest, and we lived there for several months, away from any temptation. Every time he held me in his arms, whispering soothing words, I couldn't help my flowing tears, but I wasn't sobbing on my own account. Every time I could only think that he had endured it all himself, alone. It was then, during those days away from civilization, that I swore to myself I would never leave him anymore. Eternity was too much frightening to face on one's own. In time, I managed to get that other part of me under control, and we were able to resume our travels. Every journey took us to places more remote and dangerous. We never started fights ourselves, but a few pirates and bandits paid the price of underestimating us. Nothing could stand in our way except the sun, but I cherished every moment of daytime that I spent at Lucius's side in quiet and dark places. Our bliss was complete, except for the times that news of Queen Hildegard reached us. Every time we heard her name, shivers took over my body. In those moments, desire for revenge obscured everything else, and we planned and we plotted. With my newfound power, I felt invincible. Between the two of us, we could surely defeat a witch deprived of her magical grimoire. And yet the risk of defeat still existed, and so every time I ended up changing my mind. For one, I was not ready to look at this usurper in Ophelia's body. But most importantly, I knew this was not what Ophelia would have wanted. She would have wanted me to enjoy every moment of this life that Lucius and I had earned. She would be heartbroken to see it consumed by rage. So I would not let it come to that. Oh, fair enough. Okay, that's fair. I was hoping we would go on, like, a vengeful journey, but that's okay. We can live happily ever after. No, our life will be consumed by love instead. A powerful love, worthy of my most beautiful ballads. A deep love, deep and true. An eternal love. Freedom and vampire. Okay, so there's a couple choices. that decided the ending, it seems. So there's the routes on whether you learn the backstory of Lucius and his details with Queen Hildegard, but you can also choose to not be a vampire, which doesn't seem to have a effect on the ending other than that little last bit where they talk about whether you're a vampire or not, or whether you outlived him, or whether you're not outlived him, underlived him, I guess, whether you didn't live long enough with him, I guess, and lived your mortality, or if you chose to be a vampire and continue to live with him and share that journey. So that's true. The witch would have died by herself she knows how to use the spell without her grimoire is the thing. So she doesn't need her grimoire. But if they destroy her grimoire, or if they find a way to undo the spell or stop her from doing the spell, then those are like things that they could do. But I don't think they would have to physically go and stop her. Which they might. They're immortal, and you know, I guess Mom's also immortal, but they'd be much stronger than her, although she's a witch. So they'd have to like really, if they spent some time going over like magic and how to like control it and be better at it than her, which they have all the time in the world, then it wouldn't matter. I love that. I love that I called that way in the beginning. I'm glad that it panned out to be a lich type of situation. That was really fun. Thanks for playing the game. If you like to consider playing Imperial Grace. That sounds fun. What is Imperial Grace? Are you gonna open in Steam and show me? Tell me. A visual novel about romance, medieval intrigue, and political strategy. Ooh, not my cup of tea, but that sounds fun. Do you rule with your head or your heart? Oh, it's got great art to it. The art looks amazing. Yeah, that looks really cute. I would play it, but I'm not really a strategist kind of person. So if you are a strategist kind of person and you like visual novels, definitely go check out Imperial Grace. It looks fun. But yeah, that's gonna be it for Ballads at Midnight. I'm glad we finished this out, even though we are at 3 hours. I did say I want to do more 3-hour streams though, so this is working out in my favor. But yeah, I am like totally burnt out from reading for 3 hours. My eyes are all blurry, so I need to take a break. But anyways, that's gonna conclude our session for today, guys. So thanks for joining me for Ballads at Midnight. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I found the intrigue to be very good. The story was very good. I did see it coming, but that's okay. I thought it was a wild shot in the dark, but I'm glad that I turned out to be right, because that was really fun. I think the mystery of Queen Hildegard was a very fun oh, it's like sleeves. He has like black sleeves, but his arms are black too, right? Like, that's not just me, right? I don't know. But I got distracted. Yeah, I thought the ending with Queen Hildegard was really interesting, and I found it to be a very fun visual novel. I am interested in getting some of the other endings. I might do that on my own before I uninstall it and pick out a new visual novel to play before next week. So next week we'll be playing a different visual novel, so hopefully you guys will join me then for more visual novel fun. I don't know if we'll be doing another romance. I think I want to do something more thriller, something more mystery maybe. I have to look and see. We might do something horror based. It could be fun, but I want to change it up a little bit. This was a good change of pace, although it was also a romance. This was a good change of pace as far as art style and like narrative, I think, because we've done a lot of like oh, the term I'm thinking of is Clannad-esque, like those sad kinds of anime games. We did a bunch of those recently, and we've done a bunch of romance recently, so Again, I think we're gonna move away from that for next week to play something a little different, but it will still be a visual novel, so don't worry about that. But yeah, next time you can catch me streaming is on Sunday. We'll be reading Homestuck with my lovely husband Gob Gob the Goblin. If you haven't come to the Homestuck streams, you can come check us out. We're starting Act 6, Act 3, 2, 3, somewhere around there. We're into Act 6, which is like Homestuck 2, so the story's a little bit different. We're catching up with previous characters and their time skip that they're gonna have to do. So if you haven't seen any of the Homestuck streams, or if you're like, what is Homestuck? I've never heard of it before. It is a webcomic by Andrew Hussey, made in the early 2000s. It was very good. It's been a great ride. I've been enjoying it from day one. So if you want to watch it and see me enjoy it, you can watch it on youtube.com/@princessevillanvods. Go to the Homestuck streams, the playlist, and watch from the very beginning. You can hear me read with Gob Gob the Goblin, my lovely husband, and me do all the voices, and we talk about the content of the show, or not the show, the webcomic and the animations and what went behind it and the behind the scenes kind of stuff and other works that Hussey has done and how they relate to Homestuck and things like that. So yeah, it's a whole playlist, so go ahead and check that out if you're interested and you want to catch up with Homestuck. Like I said, I've been behind on putting up videos. By the time that this video gets uploaded to the VODs, that will be different, but at this moment in time, I have not been putting videos up on the VODs channel. That's going to be changing hopefully next week. I'm going to try to do a bunch of videos this weekend so that we can have more content on the VODs channel and get caught up with that, so that this content can be viewed again on the VODs channel at your leisure, which you can do if you go to youtube.com/@princessevillanvods. Yeah. Otherwise, come join our Discord. We're going to be doing a Discord only event on Monday evening. It will be the Call of Cthulhu, the graphic novel. We're going to be reading it live. So it'll be a Discord only event. There will be no VODs for it. So if you want to catch it and you want to watch me read the Call of Cthulhu in a graphic novel form, then you can come check us out on the Discord channel. It's free. Just join the Discord by going to any of the Linktree links or going to the About Me section of Twitch, all the way down to Discord. Hit the button and add yourself, and you can come be part of the party, hang out with other people who like the streams and other people who want to be involved with the stream itself and the channel. And you can also chat with me and Gob Gob, and you can share tips and tricks and ideas about like games that you want to see us play, or what comics you want to hear us read, or TTRPGs you want to see us play, things like that. We're always looking for suggestions. So if you have an idea for an upcoming video, then let us know. Let me know what you want to see. Maybe we'll do it. Can't promise anything, but maybe we'll do it. Anyways, that's gonna be it for me today, guys. Oh, Gob Gob for his strategy. Ain't he an artificer? Yeah, he is an artificer. He is very strategic. He plays a lot of strategy games. I don't have any time for that. I don't have any time for that strategy nonsense. The most I can do is like strategy with farming, with like Story of Seasons and Harvest Moon and Rune Factory and things like that. Those are my favorites. Harvestella was great too. Oh, I did look at Hakuen. I did look at it, I think. Hold on, let me see it again. Hakuen. It was what I was thinking of. Here's my search bar. Hakuen. What did I type? What was it looking for? I don't know what I was looking for. I can't find Hakuen. Is it called Hakuen, or is it called something else? Isn't it called Rakuen? Yeah, it's Rakuen with an R. That's right. I did want to play this. I did see this in your recommendation. I do want to play this, Rakuen. I am gonna wait for it for a little bit. It is gonna be probably my next buy. Yeah, but I heard good things about this game. I think I've seen it played once. by another YouTuber like many years ago. Yeah, this would have been a while ago. So I think I saw this when this first came out, but this looks so good. This looks so much fun. Yeah, we'll totally play this. I 100% agree. We'll totally play this. This looks so good. Overwhelmingly positive too. Great. Anyways, that's gonna be it for Ballads at Midnight. I've been Princess Evelyn. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. I'll see you guys on Sunday. And bye everybody. Have a great night. There we go. Bye guys. Have a great night. Bye.